Chapter 2739. Xianxia bitterly smiled and shook her head. He doesn't know either. If it's like what you said, it should be because of the blood drop grotto heaven technique. This blood drop grotto heaven is so powerful. Xiaohua was dumbfounded. Nonsense, this is Scarlet Maple Devil Lord's technique. How can it be bad? Zhang Qingxiao sneered. Ji Peng only cultivated a little bit. If he had a little bit of success, you and I would definitely die today. Xiaohua squinted his eyes and looked at Zhang Qingxiao without saying anything. Zhang Qingxiao was scared by his stare and said coldly, "Why are you looking at me? Could it be you want the cultivation method of this blood drop grotto heaven?" "That's right. Previously, you gave me the cultivation technique. But I can't cultivate it." Xiaohua nodded and said, "And that Ji Peng is also in the Dawn Rain continent. How can he cultivate it? Now that you've swallowed a part of Ji Peng's body, you must know this secret." "You can't tell me?" Zhang Qingxiao didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the black flame and black gas imprisoned by the spirit fire, thought for a moment and said hesitantly, "This secret technique, it's not that I can't tell you. Because you can cultivate my Devil Realm's concealment technique, it's very likely that you can cultivate this blood drop grotto heaven. But as long as you cultivate this devil technique, the consequences, I don't know. It's really possible that you'll become a devil like me. You're not even willing to be the vice sect master of Heavenly Devil Sect. Are you willing to become a devil?" Xiaohua hesitated, muttered for a moment and said, "Let me see the secret technique first. Wait for me to think clearly. Then I'll decide whether to cultivate it or not." "You have to think clearly. Although my life is important and you have to face Ji Peng together with me, there are thousands of paths. You don't have to cultivate this blood drop grotto heaven to kill Ji Peng." Zhang Qingxiao naturally knew what Xiaohua was thinking and said sincerely, "I know what's important. Give me the secret technique." Xiaohua stretched out his hand and said, "AI okay." Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out a few demonic slips from her storage pouch. She handed them to Xiaohua and said, "These contain all of Ji Peng's demonic arts and memories. I knew you would want them when I fused with them earlier." "Hee. Many thanks, second senior brother." Xiaohua unceremoniously reached out and took it. He didn't even look at it before putting it into his space. Looking at Xiaohua's appearance, the corner of Zhang Qingxiao's mouth slightly revealed a smile. She hesitated slightly before asking, "You, that Vajra Dharma body? Or the Phoenix Dharma body? Why didn't you use it? Which of these Dharmakayas is most effective against the devil body of the devil world?" "Phoenix Dharma body?" Xiaohua raised his eyebrows. "Second senior brother, you know a lot." "Humph, more than you think." Zhang Qingxiao sneered. "If you temper your Vajra celestial body more, you may not be at a disadvantage even in this blood drop paradise." "Sigh, it's a long story." Xiaohua sighed. "I lost that avatar." Lost it?" Zhang Qingxiao was extremely shocked. Even with her experience, she had never heard of such an unimaginable thing. But after listening to Xiaohua's general explanation, she couldn't help but be flabbergasted. She repeatedly said, This is too much of a coincidence. I can't help it." Xiaohua shrugged. At that time, the situation was extremely urgent. "If that crack had continued for half a moment, you wouldn't have been able to see me again." "Actually, I don't understand." Zhang Qingxiao blinked her eyes and said, "How did your Vajra celestial body turn into the Phoenix Dharma body?" "Oh, of course, if you don't want to say, I also don't want to know. However, if it's really related to the bloodline of the true bloodline, this avatar shouldn't be lost." "Really?" Xiaohua knew that he wasn't as knowledgeable as Zhang Qingxiao, so he couldn't help but be happy. Then where should I go to look for it?" "Naturally, you have to look for it wherever you lost it," Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. "The void?" Xiaohua suddenly thought of the spatial crack between the Sword Mound and Mingxi, and said anxiously, "I don't remember the location of the Gale snowfield very clearly. What if I enter the void from another place?" "Hee, you really don't know anything," Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. "Although the void is outside the Dawn Rain continent, but there's no direction in the void. Even if you left a divine sense mark on the Gale snowfield, it would be like carving a boat to find a sword. It's absolutely impossible to find your avatar there. Actually, to put it more clearly, the void is a Kuai-He Sea, and my Dawn Rain continent is a small island on the Kuai-He Sea. Your avatar is a grain of sand thrown into the sea. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, if you want to find your avatar, it's tantamount to finding a needle in a haystack. Didn't you say you want to look for it in the void? Xiao Hua was unhappy. Yes, you can only look for it there, but I didn't say anything wrong. As for whether you can find it or not, that's another matter. Zhang Qingxiao argued. That's equivalent to not saying anything. The glimmer of hope that had just risen in Xiao Hua's heart was immediately extinguished. It depends on your divine sense and your fate. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, when you can reach the dividing spirit stage, maybe you can set foot in the void? Maybe you can meet your avatar there? Moreover, your avatar was born from your bloodline, so it should be able to sense you. Maybe it can take the initiative to find you. Oh right you. Speaking of this, Zhang Qingxiao suddenly thought of something and said with narrowed eyes, you can use the dividing spirit stage to control several magic treasures and Buddha's relics. Do you have a demonic sense-splitting technique similar to the demonic sense-splitting technique in the devil realm? Did you send a wisp of your primordial spirit into that phoenix avatar? When Yin Meng saw that he had the primordial spirit-splitting technique, Zhang Qingxiao had been trapped by Ji Peng's magic bamboo slip and didn't know the situation outside. However, he had absorbed Ji Peng's memory, so he naturally knew what Yin Meng knew. Therefore, Xiao Hua didn't hide it and answered honestly. Humph, you have some luck. Zhang Qingxiao sneered, if the phoenix avatar is in your body, it will always be your avatar. Now that the phoenix avatar is alone in the void, if you have the opportunity, with your primordial spirit as the master, this avatar may really become your external avatar. External avatar? What is that? Xiao Hua was overjoyed when he heard the name and asked hurriedly. What else can it be? It's another Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao said angrily, but her eyes were obviously envious. Hee, second senior brother. Can you tell me the details? Xiao Hua grinned. I won't tell you. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand. When you find it, you will know. Damn it, why don't I have such good luck? Teskeske, Xiao Hua rubbed his hands and said shyly. I'm sorry, little brother's luck is just a little bit better. Xiao Hua even stretched out his little finger and used the nail of his thumb to make a gesture. Looking at Xiao Hua's appearance, Zhang Qingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, he was completely unguarded against this mysterious little junior brother now. He only wanted to maintain the few relatives he had on the Dawn Rain continent. Don't be so complacent. Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile, you don't have the Phoenix avatar against the Demon General's demon avatar. You are already at a disadvantage. Xiao Hua shrugged and said helplessly, then I can't do anything. Do you remember that heavenly law embodiment technique? Zhang Qingxiao thought for a moment and asked. I remember, Xiao Hua nodded. That technique. And that technique is actually the cultivation technique of the demon avatar. Zhang Qingxiao said hesitantly, however, it is not complete. And if there is a technique like blood drop paradise, it should be enough. Xiao Hua nodded. It should be. Zhang Qingxiao declined to comment. If heavenly law embodiment technique is cultivated alone, it will naturally be effective. After all, this technique has already been improved. It's just that you already have the Phoenix avatar. No matter what. I'm afraid you can't cultivate another avatar, right? Everything is possible. Xiao Hua was well aware of the origin of his great strength Vajra avatar. It had nothing to do with bloodline at all. If he cultivated heavenly law embodiment technique, there might really be some surprises. Sai, do as you wish. Zhang Qingxiao said somewhat helplessly. She was already somewhat tired of Xiao Hua giving her surprises again and again. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out many jade slips and handed them to Xiao Hua, saying, these are all the techniques that I can find. You do as you see fit. Remember, I am not supporting you to create some technique. I have so many jade slips that I have no place to put them. I will leave one for you. Haha, little brother, thanks. Xiao Hua beamed with joy and reached out to receive them, sending them all into the space. Give me the universal shifting medallion. Zhang Qingxiao stretched out her hand. Xiaohua asked curiously, "What are you doing?" "Destroying it." Zhang Qingxiao said coldly, "This universe-shifting token contains the jade slips and materials to set up the teleportation array. However, because it was damaged during the teleportation, that bastard Yin Meng couldn't take it out. That's why the Changbai sect had to repair it. This item is the root of a disaster. It must be destroyed." "You have a way?" Xiaohua was stunned. "I tried just now." Zhang Qingxiao knew that Xiaohua was unwilling and said coldly, "Don't be a miser. You picked up sesame seeds and threw away the watermelon. Without this item, the chances of Ji Peng coming here will be much smaller. With this item, that bastard can't come." Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about this item with me. Others definitely can't take it away. Of course, unless you have the confidence to destroy it." Unfortunately, Zhang Qingxiao closed her eyes for a long time, and a helpless expression appeared on her face. She shook her head and said, "Forget it, you take it first. Since I can't destroy it, it's safer to leave it with you." Then, Zhang Qingxiao looked around and pointed at the black gas in the spiritual fire, saying, "This black flame and other things. I think you left it for me." Chapter 2740. "That's right." Xiaohua nodded. "This item must be beneficial to you. I didn't completely destroy it. I'll give it to you." Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out a ring the size of a fist. Bloodlight flashed around her body and the ring emitted a strange fluctuation. The black flame within the spiritual fire started to tremble rapidly. "Release the black flame," Zhang Qingxiao said. Xiaohua obeyed and kept the spiritual fire. The black gas and black flame were sucked into the ring. As the black flame disappeared, the mace was revealed and fell into Zhang Qingxiao's hands. Then, Zhang Qingxiao opened her mouth again, and a ray of bloodlight landed on the blood walls around her. The entire blood walls began to squirm, and then they were absorbed by the ring. At this moment, the sky was filled with stars and the entire Tianzhu Peak was covered in snow. It was a beautiful white land. The magic bamboo slip has the usage of the blood ring. Zhang Qingxiao handed the ring to Xiaohua and extended her hand to pass the mace to Xiaohua. Xiaohua kept them all in his spatial ring. "Remember, don't cultivate rashly." Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiaohua's indifferent expression and couldn't help but remind him again. "I understand, second senior brother." Xiaohua nodded. He looked at the clear sky and said, "I've already seen your heavenly demon sex message talisman. Then, the person I'm looking for has already gone to Sky Patrol City. We don't have to go to Meng Kingdom now. We can just go to Sky Patrol City directly." Zhang Qingxiao nodded. She looked at Xiaohua's arms and asked worriedly, "Lure is fine in your spiritual storage bag. You put him with that spiritual beast. Will he be fine?" "No harm." Xiaohua smiled. "That spiritual beast is very obedient. Nothing will happen to him. Also, I've already seen that there are no changes to Lu. All right." Zhang Qingxiao's face showed disappointment and said, "Half of what happened to Lu'er is my fault. I originally said that I would help you find a way to save Lu. But now that the Heavenly Demon Sect's first deputy sect leader, Yin Meng, is dead, he still has many direct disciples. Who knows, Ji Peng might have set them up. I have no choice but to go back and purge them." Furthermore, Laozi had already devoured Ji Peng's doppelganger. He still needed to properly digest it and completely refine it. He could not allow it to turn around and control Laozi. "Therefore, I'm afraid I can't go to Sky Patrol City with you." "And I know." Xiaohua nodded. "Even if you go, it's useless. I might as well go myself." "All right, I'll leave Lu'er's matter to you." Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and took out a token. She handed it to Xiaohua and said, "This is my Heavenly Demon Sect's first Vice Sect Master's keepsake. I'll give it to you. From today onwards, my Heavenly Demon Sect no longer has a first Vice Sect leader. Whatever you want to do, you can use this token to do whatever you want. It's the authority of the first Vice Sect Master." All right." Xiaohua, who had tasted the sweetness, took the token with a smile and said, "If I don't take it, I'm afraid you won't feel at ease." "Who knows?" Zhang Qingxiao shrugged. "Anyway, You've already accepted it. There's no point in talking about this anymore. We've boarded a pirate ship. Xiaohua sighed. It can't be considered boarding a ship. Zhang Qingxiao shook her head. You're still you. Heavenly Demon Sect is still Heavenly Demon Sect. Only when you need Heavenly Demon Sect will this keepsake be useful. Otherwise, this keepsake will always be useless. You are not my Heavenly Demon Sect's first vice sect master. N. Xiaohua nodded slightly and didn't say much. Then, he looked to the north and said, The north of Huan country is now occupied by sword cultivators. I want to take a look before going to Sky Patrol City. Second senior brother, you and I will take our leave now. Are you going to Huan country's Heavenly Demon Sect? And of course I'm going. Zhang Qingxiao cupped her hands and said, Let's part here. All right. Xiaohua said and flew away. You're really leaving? Zhang Qingxiao's face revealed a strange expression. She pointed at Tianzhu Peak and said, That child has already climbed so high in this world of ice and snow. He really doesn't care about his life. It seems like there's something going on. Aren't you going to care? This young man is too shrewd. Xiaohua said calmly, When I saved the first child, I already asked him. It was this young man's idea to come to Tianzhu Peak. He has a blood feud and wanted to attract the attention of others. So, he brought these children to Tianzhu Peak. The bet and so on were all planned by him. Naturally, he wanted to kill two birds with one stone. He wanted to use the children's lives to attract the pity of us cultivators, so that he could have a chance to encounter an opportunity for cultivation. I don't like such a scheming person. How can I reach out and care about his matters? Ha ha ha, so you're not a good person. Zhang Qingxiao laughed loudly. Her face was full of interest. Looking at the foot of the mountain, she said, This child has such a scheme, such shrewdness, and even such perseverance. He's a good talent that my Heavenly Demon Sect needs. Hee, I can't do without taking him into the sect. Whether you take him in or not is your business. Just don't use my name. Xiaohua said coldly. Hee, when you need my Heavenly Demon Sect to broadcast good seeds to you, you don't say that I'm using your name? Zhang Qingxiao laughed. It seemed that she really had the intention to use Taoist Master Zhao's name. Do as you wish. Thinking of Zhong Haoren's plan, Xiaohua's heart stirred. Waving his hand, he said, I'm leaving. After I finish Luer's matter, I'll bring him to see you. Zhang Qingxiao nodded, but his brows furrowed. With a flash, he flew down Tianzhu Peak. It seemed that the young man was in danger. Xiaohua's face was as calm as water. He flew into the sky and headed north of Huan country. The north of Huan country was naturally extremely cold, very similar to the north of Shi country. In addition, the rich land of fish and rice near Tianzhu Peak was also nowhere to be seen. All that was seen and heard was bitter cold. Along the way, Xiaohua naturally scattered spirit seeds on the ground. As for who could pick them up, or whether these good seeds could sprout, Xiaohua didn't care. After all, spirit seeds were the same as a human's cultivation. They all needed luck. Some spirit seeds fell into the mud and immediately decayed. Some spirit seeds fell into rocks and immediately dried up. Some spirit seeds fell into trees and immediately became bird food. Only those seeds that fell into fertile fields could germinate into rice. Alas, although I have some vague directions. But if I start, it's extremely difficult. Xiaohua flew in the air while his thoughts ran wild. He roughly looked through the jade slips given by Zhang Qingxiao, and even those magic slips. There were all kinds of strange cultivation methods in them. Xiaohua could easily learn some of them, but he couldn't understand some of them even after looking at them for half a day. If he were to absorb the essence of these cultivation methods, comprehend the experience, and create his own cultivation method, it wouldn't be something that could be done in a day or two. Thinking back to the day when I created my own foundation establishment cultivation method, it was so easy. Why is it so difficult to face these? Xiaohua smiled bitterly. Actually, he knew in his heart that it was a matter of life and death that day. The choice of life or death forced him to create his own cultivation method. If it was now, it would be really difficult for him to create another cultivation method. That theory of rules is really fresh. Xiaohua thought again. But thinking about it, isn't there the fluctuation of rules in space? It's normal to pay attention to this in terms of cultivation methods. I'm thinking of creating my own cultivation method now, but I'm still looking for something far away. That sword plays the world, and that heaven-shocking stick. Don't they all contain a kind of rule? Maybe, if I first understand these two secret techniques, I'll be able to protect myself against an opponent as strong as Ji Peng. Xiaohua had a plan in his heart. He clapped his hands, took out another jade slip, and sighed. Damn it, the heavenly demon sect is really powerful. They even got the list of nascent soul and gold core cultivators from the 3 countries who went to the Sky Patrol City. I don't know when my fortune gate will be able to do that. Jing Ran went to the Sky Patrol City, the 3 elders of the Ardent Fire Mountain went to the Sky Patrol City, and even Zhu Chenghe and Qian Diheng went to the Sky Patrol City. Damn it, the Sky Patrol City is very lively now. Xiaohua shrunk his neck and laughed. I won't go to such a lively place. Whether the old devils of the snow region know the truth or not, I won't take the risk. That's right. Qian Diheng went to the Sky Patrol City. Is he going to ask me for a rejuvenation pill? Xiaohua suddenly remembered. I haven't refined it in the past few years. Just as Xiaohua's imagination was running wild, a powerful bird cry suddenly came from above Xiaohua's head. That sound was like the cry of a bird, but also like thunder. It rushed into Xiaohua's ears and shook his thoughts into chaos. Even his entire body rapidly fell several meters. Who is it? Xiaohua activated the secret technique of God guidance and swept his divine sense over this extreme discomfort. He was stunned. He saw that in the sky, there was a giant peng bird that was several hundred feet in size. It spread its wings and covered the sky nearby. On the back of the giant peng bird stood a giant and a dwarf. These 2 people were quite strange. Xiaohua couldn't help but look at them a few more times. He saw that the giant was taller than the ones Xiaohua had seen before. It was about 3 zhang tall. Its arms were thick and large, and its body was well built. What was even more special was that it had a big red nose on its forehead. It was very eye-catching. As for the dwarf, it was the first time Xiaohua saw it. It was shorter than an ordinary person by more than half, barely reaching the giant's knee. Although the dwarf was very small, it seemed that the dwarf was much more shrewd than the giant, because the dwarf's 2 small eyes flashed with an extremely cunning light. Looking at the giant peng bird that was bigger than his phoenix celestial body, Xiaohua's heart trembled. When the giant peng bird's eyes swept over him like sword light, Xiaohua almost felt that his whole body was about to be pierced by this gaze. This giant peng bird. Is it a demonic beast? Is it the spirit beast of this giant or dwarf? Xiaohua clapped his hands and took out the wishful staff. His body slowly descended. Chapter 2741. It was as if the rock only wanted Xiaohua to land and did not force him. Instead, it flapped its wings, causing a gust of wind to blow as it followed Xiaohua down from the sky. Xiaohua found an ice mountain and landed on top of it. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the rock that was slowly descending from 100 zhang away. The rock was indeed huge. When it was still 100 zhang away from the ice mountain, the snow and ice on top of the mountain was blown away by the gust of wind from its wings. When the rock landed on top of the mountain, cracking sounds could be heard as many cracks appeared on the ice. With a pang sound, the giant jumped down from the rock's back, creating a deep hole in the snow under his feet. The giant even jumped a few more steps and rushed to Xiaohua's side. With a flip of his hand, he actually pulled out a huge mace from his back. Looking at the dwarf, his figure was very vigorous as he somersaulted in the air and landed on top of the snow. Then, he jogged a few times and clapped his hands. From his storage bag, he took out 2 small yellow sticks. The front of the sticks was slightly bulging, as if they were used to grind medicine. Gee! The great rock let out a long cry, the sound reverberating in all directions. The ice that had already cracked earlier cracked even more. As the great rock let out a long cry, its wings, which were hundreds of feet long, shrank rapidly. Its entire body shrank as well, and even its head gradually transformed. A human face with long and narrow cheeks, thin and long eyes, and a slightly protruding mouth appeared. In the blink of an eye, the huge rock's body and wings disappeared. A slightly tall old man with a pale golden face appeared in front of Xiaohua. Bird cultivator? Xiaohua suddenly realized. The moment the old man's figure appeared, An aura that was like a sharp sword came out of his body. Of course, this aura was just a flash, but Xiaohua still saw it clearly. Peak of the third-grade illusory sword. Just half a step away from the sword transformation realm. I am Kunmogu Qipeng. The old man revealed his figure and stood there like a mountain. His sharp eyes swept over Xiaohua several times as he coldly said, "You? Which Dao sect's disciple are you from? You actually dare to openly peep at my sword domain's territory?" "I am Imperial Thunder Sect's Xiaohua." Xiaohua wasn't cowardly at all. He replied indifferently, "This is my Lien Kingdom's territory. When did it become your sword cultivator's territory?" "Hee hee, kid. This place has long since been conquered by the warriors of my sword region. It's already the location of my sword region," the dwarf said with a sinister smile. "Aren't you a disciple of the Dao sect participating in the battle?" "Who are you?" Xiaohua looked at the dwarf and said, "This Xiao doesn't talk to nameless people." "You." The dwarf was slightly angry, but when he looked at Xiaohua, he was actually somewhat afraid and didn't dare to step forward. Instead, he clenched his teeth and said, "I am Gao Dezhuang, the cave master of Cloud Mist Cave. He is one of the most famous people in this war. Haven't you heard of him?" "Gao Dezhuang?" Xiaohua almost wanted to grin, but he forcefully held back his laughter. He blinked his eyes and said, This Xiao has only heard of the names of Qin Jian, Lu Ruochang, and the others. I have never heard of Gao Dezhuang. I've never even heard of Qi Peng's name." "It doesn't matter if you haven't heard of my name." Qi Peng wasn't angry at all. He wasn't like Gao Dezhuang who was about to stomp his feet. He said coldly, "You only need to have heard of Ling Yunwu, Yuan, Yuan Qing, Yu Ming, and Qin Jian." Hearing these names, Xiaohua understood in his heart. Although he didn't know the names of Yuan Qing and Yuan, Ling Yunwu, Yu Ming, and Qin Jian were all his former opponents. How could he not know that Qi Peng had already seen through him? "I am Lien Xiaochao of the Mountain Crossing Ridge. Xiaohua, you have consecutively defeated my Mountain Crossing Ridge's warriors. Today I must fight you." The giant couldn't compare to the shrewdness of the dwarf and couldn't help but shout, Lien Xiaochao." Hearing the giant's name, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. This name was too interesting. Compared to these two names, his own name, Xiaohua, was really insignificant. Terrifying Phoenix. Do you want me to personally call you that? Qi Peng looked at Xiaohua who was about to laugh and coldly called out. He patted his hand and took out a sword scroll. He looked at it with his divine sense and then looked at Xiaohua's face. He coldly snorted, "Although I have never seen you before, your reputation is really resounding in my sword domain. This sword domain's #1 bounty. It's been a bounty for a long time." "There's actually a bounty for me? And it's #1? Xiaohua was startled. He really didn't think that there would be a bounty for him, and it was actually #1. Humph. You naturally won't be #1. However, with Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao, you guys are naturally #1. Gao Dezhuang also coldly snorted and said, "Can you let me see this bounty?" Xiaohua was very curious and reached out his hand. Keske as expected of the terrifying Phoenix. Qi Peng laughed. "Truly a skilled and bold person. Facing the three of us you're actually so calm. I really have no choice but to admit defeat." As he spoke, Qi Peng waved his hand and the sword scroll flew in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua's divine sense scanned the sword scroll and knew that there were no hidden cards inside. He then took it and looked inside with his divine sense for a while. He touched his nose with his hand and laughed. "Hee hee, inside this. The three of us don't seem to be very similar. At least, I'm not really handsome." "Haha, Xiaohua, you're really interesting." Qi Peng clapped his hands. "I really can't think of anything. You're just a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator. What kind of hidden cards can you have? Even if you can suppress your cultivation, you're at most at the early stage of golden core, right? You're actually not afraid at all?" "I'm speaking the truth. The images in this bounty really don't look like me, Li Zongbao and the others." Xiaohua's face was filled with helplessness. "Moreover, this bounty. Isn't it too little? It's a far cry from my Dao sect's #1 bounty. It's not generous enough. Not generous enough. Nonsense. Those who saw you were all disciples who were pregnant and drew their swords. They couldn't explain it clearly, so the images they drew were all different. As for the illusory swordsmen who saw you, none of them are alive, so how can there be a real image? Xianxia coldly snorted. However, from today onwards, at least one of the images in this bounty can be real. You're wrong. From today onwards, this bounty will still be blurry. Gao Dazhuang continued. Why? Xianxia was somewhat puzzled. We can naturally correct Xiaohua's image. Gao Dazhuang sneered. Xiaohua is dead, so naturally there's no need to correct it. But Xiaohua isn't dead. Xianxia was even more puzzled. Moreover, I don't have the confidence to kill him. Humph, the three of us working together, can't we kill him? Gao Dazhuang really wanted to pinch Xiao's ear and tell him. What? The three of us? The three of us working together? Xiao couldn't accept it as soon as he heard it. He poked the mace in his hand into the ice under his feet. With a dong sound, he stood there straight. He waved his hand and said, He's just a Foundation establishment disciple. I know he's strong and has forced back a few of my subordinates. That's why I want to fight with him. If the three of you work together, I definitely won't do it. You! Gao Dazhuang was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect the giant to be so straightforward, and he also didn't expect Xiao to say such words in front of him. He somewhat resentfully glared at Xiao, and then looked at Qi Peng. Not to mention Gao Dazhuang. Even Xiaohua himself was stunned. He looked up and down at Xiao, who didn't seem to be pretending. Then, he folded his arms, clamped the wishful steel mace in his armpit, and looked at Qi Peng with a smile, as if he was waiting for Qi Peng's answer. That's right. Qi Peng also coldly said, although the terrifying phoenix has killed many warriors of our sword region, he is still a Foundation establishment disciple. Even when he fought with our sword region's illusory swordsmen, he was alone. I have never heard of him joining forces with that Dao sect disciple. According to the rules of our illusory sword domain, we can't work together to kill him. Even you and I are third-grade illusory swordsmen. We can't fight with a Foundation establishment disciple. But Gao Dazhuang's face was anxious. He's a terrifying phoenix. He's not an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. Yes, it's because he's not an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. He might even be a golden core cultivator. Moreover, he has killed many warriors of our illusory sword domain, so we have to fight with him. Qi Peng's face was cold as he lightly said. That's right, this is a time of war. What one-on-one fight? What alliance? It doesn't matter. Gao Dazhuang anxiously said, if we kill this terrifying phoenix, we'll take credit in front of the swordsmen. We'll really raise the morale of our swordsmen. We want to fight with him. But only one of the three of us can fight with him. Not the three of us can fight together. Qi Peng said word by word, although this is a time of war. But the nascent soul cultivators have just gathered in the meeting hall of Sky Patrol City. The swordsmen of Ripple Country have not arrived yet. This Dao sword battle is resting. We are not fighting on the battlefield. I'm not so thick-skinned to the point of tearing apart the bottom line of illusory sword domain. But this bastard managed to kill Qin Jian. None of us have the confidence to kill him. Gao Dazhuang was a little anxious and stammered, only if the three of us work together can we have full confidence. That's right. If the three of us work together, we have confidence. Qi Peng lightly said, I also want to kill the terrifying phoenix. However, although I'm a beast cultivator, I'm also a member of the illusory sword domain. I'm also the Valley Master of the Valley of Macaws. I can't abandon the principles of being a swordsman because of my selfishness. This principle is the foundation of our illusory sword domain. Without this principle, I won't be able to convince everyone in the Valley of Macaws. Our illusory sword domain won't be able to establish itself in the Dawn Rain continent. Chapter 2742. Good. Xiaohua almost wanted to clap his hands. This Taoist war had been going on for close to 10 years. He had seen swordsmen who were both real and fake. Some were as cunning as Qin Jian and Guan Peng, some were as resourceful as LV Ruochang and Ling Yunwu, Some were as reasonable as Guyu, and some were as honest as Ji Yi. However, the only one who truly adhered to his principles was this Qi Peng in front of him. And Lien Xiaochao. With such people in this world, with such virtuous opponents, Xiao Hua did not feel lonely at all. You all must be crazy. Gao Dazhuang was in disbelief. He really could not understand what the two were thinking. He jumped up and said, "You all have to look carefully. This is a great enemy of our sword region. It is this Foundation Establishment disciple who killed Ling Yunwu and more than 10 people from the Lingfeng sword sect at Mount Quanjin. It is this person who drove Yu Ming crazy. It is this person who killed Qin Jian. It is this person who killed so many swordsmen of our sword region. You all are going to let him go just like this? Who said we are going to let him go?" Lien Xiaochao roared and picked up his mace. He shouted, "I am going to kill him with my mace. That's right. Today, even if I die, I will make him stay here." Qi Peng's face flashed with a yellow light. A strange fluctuation appeared around him as he said coldly, "But, you all do not have any confidence." Gao Dazhuang was about to cry. He can even kill Qin Jian, who is a third-grade illusory sword expert. You all, if you fight him alone, won't you all die? A warrior can be killed, but his will cannot be humiliated. Qi Peng said faintly, "If I don't even have this awareness, how can I step into the sword transformation realm?" Crazy. You all are crazier than Yu Ming." Gao Dazhuang stamped his feet. "Brother Qi, are you going to do it or should I?" Lien Xiaochao drew a big circle with his mace and said loudly, "This Terror Phoenix has left a huge name in our mountain crossing ridge. All the boy who heard the name of the Terror Phoenix would be afraid. I cannot not fight with him. Let me do it." Qi Peng laughed. "Your cultivation level is slightly lower than mine. Against this cruel and terrifying phoenix, you have less confidence than me. Okay." Lien Xiaochao propped her mace on the ground and said, "Old brother Qi, go." Ha. Seeing this, Xiao Hua raised his head and laughed loudly. He pointed at Qi Peng and said, "Old man Qi, you keep talking about principles, but didn't you think about it? This Xiao is just a Foundation Establishment cultivator. You, a third-grade illusory swordsman, don't you feel that you are lowering your status by fighting against this Xiao? Don't you feel embarrassed?" He, of course I have my principles." Qi Peng sneered. "But I'm not pedantic. I've already said that even though you seem to be at Foundation Establishment, you definitely possess the strength of a Jindan cultivator. Otherwise, Qin Jian wouldn't have fallen. Moreover, this is a time of war, and I'm not transforming into a sword. Even if I attack an aura refining disciple, it's absolutely not against the rules." "All right, if that's the case. It seems that this Xiao has no choice but to fight," Xiao Hua said coldly as he twirled the staff in his hand. "That's right. Unless this old man dies, don't even think about leaving this place." Qi Peng spread out his hands, and 2 yellow lights flashed. 2 rows of orange-yellow feathers rushed out from his arms like flying swords. "Wait!" Xiao Hua hurriedly said. "What else do you have to say?" Qi Peng slightly stagnated. The orange sword light condensed and didn't shoot out. "Can this Xiao choose his own opponent?" Xiao Hua said in a low voice. "Choose." Qi Peng was stunned, and Gao Dazhuang's expression changed. He tightened his grip on his mace, as if he understood that Xiao Hua was looking for him. "I, a Foundation Establishment cultivator, can't choose my opponent when facing 3 illusory swordsmen?" Xiao Hua said very innocently. His gaze went past Qi Peng and fell on Gao Dazhuang. "No, of course not." Gao Dazhuang jumped up and said, "This is a battlefield, not a competition. The purpose of us besieging you is to kill you." "That's right." Qi Peng sneered. "In front of the 3 of us, you're just a fish on the chopping block. What qualifications do you have to be on the chopping block? Hand over your life." As Qi Peng's voice fell, the orange-yellow brilliance on the wings left his body and turned into specks of small swords, rushing toward Xiao Hua like a flash flood. Woo! Countless strange sounds rang out as the light feathers shot out. Similarly, a hurricane was stirred up nearby. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth within a radius of several hundred feet converged towards this location. The light feathers transformed from small swords into flying swords. Ha ha ha, who said this young master is a fish on the chopping block? Even if this young master is a small fish, you guys are still 3 inches long shrimps. Xiaohua laughed loudly. He clapped his hands, and the Kunlun mirror flew up into the sky. Xiaohua pointed his hand, and a green light flashed on the mirror, and a green light rushed out. After the green light appeared, every strand of light began to expand. The heaven and earth spirit chi that was absorbed by the light feather rapidly converged towards these strands of light. Strands of green wood that were thinner than a strand of hair began to transform from these strands of light. Rumble, in the blink of an eye, the green wood absorbed a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy, and turned into hundreds and thousands of small green wood. They also rushed toward Qi Peng's flying swords like a flood. Qi Peng didn't underestimate Xiaohua. At this time, his heart tightened, and he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Unlike Gao Dazhuang and Lian Xiaochao, Qi Peng was currently facing the torrent of green wood. Although the thousands of green wood were attacking his sword light in a disorderly manner, Qi Peng was keenly aware that these green wood were not without order. There was even a kind of magic formation faintly revealed within these green wood. All the green wood faintly overflowed with intertwining magic power fluctuations, and these fluctuations occasionally flashed with a kind of indescribable confinement power. This power not only enveloped his sword light, it also enveloped the space of around 100 feet around him. The strangeness of this magic treasure was far from what Qi Peng had seen the Dao sect cultivators use before. Although the power of this Kunlun mirror might not be able to threaten Qi Peng, but it was enough to make him look at Xiaohua in a new light. Isn't this the power of sword transformation? Qi Peng was shocked. Although he hadn't stepped into sword transformation, he could already see a trace of the mysteries of sword transformation. Naturally, he could see the difference. Then, Qi Peng understood. The Dao sect spells are indeed endless. Although this Xiaohua's cultivation is only at the golden core stage, he can actually comprehend this. No wonder Qin Jian fell in his hands. I'm afraid my feather arrow technique won't be able to block it. Just as Qi Peng understood, the two torrents collided. Rumble, loud noises rang out unceasingly. The light sword pierced into the green wood, and pieces of the green wood's brilliance were annihilated. At the same time, the green wood crushed the light sword under the wooden wheel. Boundless brilliance soared into the sky, illuminating the surroundings. The green brilliance intertwined with the orange brilliance, flickering intensely. Similarly intense fluctuations and surging hurricanes were also born from the foot of the mountain. Even someone as strong as Qi Peng didn't expect that the attack just now would be so powerful. His arms trembled slightly, while protecting his body, he slowly retreated more than 10 feet. However, just as Qi Peng was about to activate the feather arrow technique again, Xiaohua's action stunned him again. Attack! Xiaohua's figure flew into the air with the force of this attack. He patted his hand and actually took out a mace that was twice as big as the one in front of Lian Xiaochao. He abandoned Qi Peng and unexpectedly swung it towards Lian Xiaocao's head. "Io, you're courting death." Lian Xiaochao was obviously caught unprepared. When he saw that the wind from Xiaohua's mace had already rushed to his forehead, he finally came to his senses. He roared angrily and dragged the mace into the air in an extremely embarrassing manner. However, this mace was not only a little crooked, but also a lot of mud splashed onto his face. Bah! A sound that wasn't any weaker than the sound of the Kunlun mirror colliding with the arrow rang out. The two huge spiked maces collided with each other. Even Xiaocao's arm swayed a bit. Even the solid ice under his huge body had long shattered. What surprised Qi Peng the most was that Xiaohua's Kunlun mirror that blocked his feather arrow technique actually didn't put it into the storage bag. Instead, it quietly floated above Xiaohua's head. Although the mirror flashed a faint tricolored brilliance from time to time, there was no fluctuation of magic power. It was obviously condensed and not released, and was extremely vigilant against him. This Xiaohua, what is he doing? Qi Peng was somewhat confused. Could it be that he wants to fight 1 against 2, 1 against 3? Even if he's in the late stage of Jindan, he can't be so arrogant. However, Qi Peng didn't dare to be careless. The orange brilliance around his body flashed again. The wings that had already spread out several feet slowly expanded. Although he didn't go forward to attack Xiaohua with Lian Xiaochao, and just as he said before, only one of them was facing Xiaohua, he still revealed himself, and was always on guard against Xiaohua's counterattack. Valley Master Qi. When Gao Dazhuang saw Xiaohua first attack Qi Peng, then provoke Lien Xiaochao, his heart finally relaxed. The fear that suddenly appeared in his heart slowly disappeared. At this time when he saw Qi Peng on guard, he hurriedly shouted, "This Xiaohua is bluffing. Don't look at how arrogant he is. He's just looking for the weakest among us three to force us to make the first move. This guy will definitely escape after fighting with Lien Xiaochao for a while. Valley Master Qi, please be prepared." At this time, Qi Peng's figure was already 50% illusory. His upper body was still in human form. When he heard Gao Dazhuang's words, a trace of understanding flashed in his eyes, but then his eyes flashed with displeasure. When Gao Dazhuang saw this, although Qi Peng didn't say anything, he immediately shut his mouth. He knew that his words had exposed some of Qi Peng's plans. It had the meaning of trying to be clever and making a fool of himself. Chapter 2743. Then Gao Dazhuang stole a glance at Xiaohua, only to find that Xiaohua was not paying attention to them at all. At this moment, Xiaohua's movements were vigorous. His figure was like a gentle breeze, but the spiked club in his hand was like a thunderbolt. The rumbling sounds were like that of a real thunder god. With a wave of his arm, it was born. Lien Xiaochao was the cave master of Uni Cave and the leader of the giant tribe. His skills were naturally not comparable to ordinary giants. Not only did his arms have infinite strength, but he also had the secret staff technique of Uni Cave. This staff technique was unparalleled in the Huan country. Even against an illusory swordsman, Lien Xiaochao would not be at a disadvantage. However, in this short period of time, Lien Xiaochao had already clashed with Xiaohua more than 10 times. Lien Xiaochao felt that Xiaohua was almost like a hard stone wall. Every time the maces collided with each other, it would make his arms feel numb and he couldn't use his strength in an instant. This was a situation he had never encountered before. He knew in his heart that Xiaohua's strength was definitely not inferior to his. In fact, Xiaohua was even a little stronger than him. If he let Xiaohua go crazy like this, he would only be at a disadvantage. The strength of his arms would become more and more slack. In the end, he would not be able to lift the mace. Roar! Lien Xiaochao roared. Under the fight with Xiaohua, his body staggered a few steps. He took a deep breath and his whole body was suffused with a bronze luster. When Xiaohua saw this, he sensed a kind of obscure fluctuation coming from Lien Xiaocao's body. He couldn't help but feel surprised. He had always thought that the giants relied on their physical strength and innate physical bodies to fight, but he didn't expect that they also practiced martial arts. Sure enough, as the luster flashed around Lien Xiaocao's body, not only did the strength of Lien Xiaocao's arms gradually increase, but the mace technique also changed. Good. Xiaohua's eyebrows twitched and he was overjoyed. After shouting 3 times, he clapped his hands and the mace in his hand returned to the space. The wishful staff appeared. Woo! The wind whistled like an ear-piercing scream and greeted the mace. For a time, the entire nameless foothills were filled with the shadows of the staff. One of them was like a wave, while the other was like a tidal wave crashing against the shore. At first, the sounds of weapons clashing sounded like beans being fried in a hot pan. Crackling sounds rang out incessantly, but after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the sounds of weapons clashing lessened, and could only be heard occasionally. However, this sound was extremely powerful. Although the sound did not disappear, Gao Dazhuang, who was watching from the side, trembled every time he heard the sound. His eyes flashed with hope. It seemed like it was because Xiaohua had chosen Lien Xiaochao instead of him. Gao Dazhuang. Even Qi Peng, whose entire body had transformed into a giant rock that was hundreds of feet in size, was somewhat perplexed by the situation with his eyes that were as sharp as swords. Because in his opinion, although Lien Xiaocao's mace did not lose to Xiaohua's wishful staff in terms of momentum, and even took the upper hand after Lien Xiaochao activated her secret technique, forcing Xiaohua to fly around in the air to dodge. But now, Xiaohua was still flying in the air like the wind, and Lien Xiaochao was like a reef standing in the tide. She could only try her best to wave her mace and stand there, not daring to move at will. This time, Xiaohua was attacking her differently. Could it be Lien Xiaocao's plan to lure the enemy? Qi Peng secretly guessed, how can this Xiaohua have such divine power? According to the defeated giant, Xiaohua should not be Lien Xiaocao's opponent. Could it be that Xiao Hua's strength has improved again during this time? This is not possible. Strength is not magical power. Not good. Just when Qi Peng was pondering, he saw Xiao Hua's figure flashing strangely with the wishful staff. It was like an afterimage, but also like a clone. Lian Xiaoqiao was so scared that she turned her body sideways. The mace flashed slightly, and the huge wolf teeth flashed a cold light and hit Xiao Hua's side. However, after the sound of the mace's wind, it hit nothing. Xiao Hua's wishful staff strangely came out from Lian Xiaocao's side and suddenly hit Lian Xiaocao's back. Roar! When Lian Xiaoqiao realized that the wishful staff was already close to her body, there was no way to avoid it. She could only roar and meet the wishful staff with her body. With a muffled sound, Lian Xiaocao's figure staggered, and the bronze luster on her back shone brightly. Ha! With Lian Xiaocao's failure, Xiao Hua's figure also appeared in the air. At this time, Xiao Hua's forehead was sweating, and his face was full of a fierce battle. He looked at Lian Xiaocao's back with amazement. At the place where the wishful staff hit, a fist-sized bulge quickly protruded. However, under the bronze luster it slowly fell. Although it was not as fast as the bulge, it was still visible to the naked eye. Xiao Hua's staff. He knew in his heart that although he did not use his full strength and hurriedly attacked from the flaw of Lian Xiaocao's mace, the power inside was also very strong. Even if it was the sword light of the illusory sword, he was confident that he could defeat it. Well, even Xiao Hua himself was not confident that he would not be injured after being hit. But he did not expect that Lian Xiaoqiao would be able to take it head-on without being injured. Damn it, this giant clan is really powerful. Xiao Hua was a little flabbergasted. Although the giant clan does not know how to fly, their strength is very strong. Her strength was truly formidable, and even Xiaocao's staff technique was a bit strange. It seems that after every strike, there is a surplus of power. This surplus power is actually similar to my heavenly staff technique. It can be borrowed and used in the second strike. Even the surplus power of the second strike can be used again in the third strike. In this way, it is really a bit of a cycle. Although this young master staff can borrow power, it can only be used in between a few moves. It is far from Lian Xiaocao's trickle-like flow of water. This must be a secret technique of the giant clan. Xiao Hua was not in a hurry to fight with Lian Xiaoqiao. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and thought, should I get this secret technique? Unfortunately, at this time, high in the sky north of the foothills, buzz buzz. Several rays of biting cold sword energy shot into the sky. Not only did the floating clouds in the sky shatter into pieces, but even the pale white sunlight changed color because of it. Wu! When Qi Peng spread his wings, the orange sword light suddenly surged, causing Qi Peng to involuntarily turn his head to look. When he looked at Xiao Hua again, the originally hidden sword energy in his body involuntarily became majestic. A kind of unconcealable sword energy was born in Xiao Hua's body. Damn it! Old Ghost Huashan is here. There are actually several of them. Xiao Hua turned pale with fright and hurriedly activated the Chongbai sect's secret technique to conceal the sword energy. His whole body rushed into the air as he thought to himself, this young master was previously impatient because of that dog fart Ji Peng and almost lost his confidence. Now that I met Lian Xiaoqiao, the fight was extremely carefree. This young master is already satisfied and won't play with you guys anymore. This young master is leaving. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua did not say anything else. His body turned into the wind and floated towards the south. My eyes. Did I see wrongly? Lian Xiaoqiao was somewhat stunned. Even when Xiao Hua flew over his head, he was still at a loss. Because Lian Xiaoqiao was facing the north, he had seen the sword intent that had transformed into a sword that soared into the sky. As for the brief moment that had appeared in Xiao Hua's body, the sword intent that had almost transformed into a sword had also been inadvertently seen by him. Even though he did not cultivate the flying sword, he had an extremely strong perception towards the sword intent that transformed into a sword in the sword domain. How could Lian Xiaoqiao not be shocked when he saw the sword intent that transformed into a sword from a Dao sect cultivator? He was really shocked to the point of losing his soul. Where do you think you're going? When Qi Peng's gaze came into contact with the sword energy in the distance, he immediately came to his senses and hurriedly scanned back with his divine sense. Sure enough, Xiao Hua was fleeing like a stray dog. How could he let this great enemy of the sword domain escape? With a furious roar, he spread his wings and a huge gust of wind surged from his wings. His entire body was faster than lightning as he chased after Xiao Hua's back. His claws, which were sharper than flying swords, flashed with sword light as they clawed at Xiao Hua's back. Xiao Hua did not want to expose his identity as nameless, and did not dare to control the heavenly lightning and attract the sword energy to chase after him. He only used the wind escape technique to escape. He had only flown a few hundred feet when he suddenly felt a bone-piercing chill on his back. HM? This great Peng is indeed powerful. This young master was wrong. Xiao Hua scanned with his divine sense and immediately knew that Qi Peng was chasing after him. Moreover, Qi Peng's flying speed was far faster than his wind escape technique. No wonder this guy is so confident. He is fighting with this young master alone. With this flying technique that far surpasses others, even the golden core of the Sky Patrol City's conference hall would not be able to escape from his hands. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows. His figure was like a loach as he dodged the moment Qi Peng's claws were about to reach him. Then, as if he was unwilling to admit defeat, Xiao Hua blindly activated the wind escape technique, escaping and dodging at the same time. However, the great Peng was indeed incomparably powerful. With just a flap of its wings, it could easily cover a distance of more than 10 li. Moreover, the arrows on its wings and its sharp claws that were comparable to flying swords could easily attack Xiao Hua. For a short period of time, Xiao Hua was surrounded by danger several times and was almost hit by the sharp claws. Damn it! This young master forgot that this wind escape technique is Feng Buping's talent. That guy is just a bird, similar to this great Peng. This young master's wind escape technique is somewhat comparable to your Feng Buping's. How can I fight against this valley master of the Swarm of Owls Valley? Xiao Hua tried his best to avoid Qi Peng's claws as he thought in exasperation. Immediately, Xiao Hua clapped his hand and the Yin Yang sword gourd appeared in his hand. He pointed his finger and said, "Quick!" Following the incantation, 2 rays of spirit-slaying yuan light rushed out from the mouth of the gourd and turned into a green and red brilliance that pounced on Qi Peng's left wing. Seeing Xiao Hua take out the sword gourd, the seemingly familiar yet strange sword light spurted out from the mouth of the gourd. The incomparable killing intent immediately covered Qi Peng. Before Qi Peng could cry out in horror, the 2 sword lights had already flown between Qi Peng's left wing. Chapter 2744. Qi Peng was scared out of his wits and hastily tried to retract his wings. However, how could he retract his wings that were dozens of meters long so easily? Qi Peng had only retracted his wings by a few feet when the green-red sword light wrapped around his left wing. With a swoosh sound, the green-red sword light circled around Qi Peng's left wing. 80% of his left wing was cut off by the execution spirit vital light. As the light flickered, it was suddenly annihilated. Blood sprayed out and orange feathers scattered all over the sky. Ah! Qi Peng cried out in pain. His entire body tilted and fell down. His other wing flapped with all its might as if it was trying to maintain its balance. He really didn't expect Xiao Hua's 2 sword lights to be so sharp that he couldn't resist at all. In a hurry, a dazzling light shot out from Qi Peng's right arm. It turned into an arrow and flew into the sky, as if it was sending out a distress signal. Humph! Xiao Hua's cold sweat sounded in the air. You don't need to worry. I won't take your life. Why? Qi Peng looked at Xiao Hua's figure that stopped in the air and asked in disbelief. You and Lian Xiaoqiao are the only worthy opponents I have met on the battlefield. Xiao Hua said indifferently, just now, you all didn't just swarm me because I was alone and didn't bully me with numbers. Moreover, you also did the same in the battle just now. Although you boast that your Huan country's sword cultivators have such a bottom line, how can my Cultivation 3 countries not have a bottom line comparable to yours? Based on your previous open and above-board behavior, I won't take your lives today. However, you're right. Right now, we're in the middle of a battle and now we're resting. If you and I meet again that day, don't blame me for being ruthless and taking your life. As he spoke, Xiao Hua's figure suddenly fell down. Like a meteorite, he fell into the mountain peak 100 meters below and mysteriously disappeared. His terrifying phoenix. It really is a terrifying phoenix. Qi Peng was shocked and couldn't help but feel a strong lingering fear in his heart. He was very glad that when facing Xiao Hua's advantage, He didn't lose his principles and didn't choose to be utilitarian like Gao Dezhuang. It was this kind of perseverance that saved his life at this moment. In other words, it saved the lives of the three people. To have such a worthy opponent. Isn't it my pleasure? Even if I die at the hands of such an opponent, I have no regrets. Qi Peng's heart, like Ji Ye's heart, a hero's hero's hero. Following which, Qi Peng's figure slowly recovered. The severed arm that had fallen in mid-air also flew to his side. Qi Peng opened his mouth and spat out an orange-yellow brilliance, which covered the severed arm. As the orange-yellow brilliance retracted, the severed arm also fell into Qi Peng's mouth. The brilliance around Qi Peng's body grew brighter and a strange, rock-like Dharma idol appeared on Qi Peng's back. With a long cry, the Dharma idol disappeared again. However, with just this cry, Qi Peng's originally yellow face instantly turned deathly pale, as if he had used up a lot of his heart's blood. When the long cry disappeared, an orange-yellow brilliance shot out from Qi Peng's severed arm. A feather-like object flashed out from the brilliance. Then, the brilliance retracted and the feather gradually trembled. Countless strands of blood appeared from the brilliance and quickly wrapped around the feather. After half a cup of tea's time, another orange-yellow arm grew out from Qi Peng's left shoulder. Hee, terrifying phoenix. Even if you pay attention to kill this Qi, you still don't have the strength to do so. Qi Peng faintly chuckled. With a pat of his hand, he took out several medicinal pills from his storage bag and threw them into his mouth without even looking. Once the medicinal effects had spread, he once again slowly flew up. Without activating his wings, he flew towards the foot of the mountain where he had previously fought with Xiao Hua. At this time, only Lien Xiaochao stood there in a daze. His brows were tightly knitted, as if he was thinking about something. Swordsman Lien. Qi Peng looked around and asked curiously, "Where's Swordsman Gao?" "He went to chase after Xiao Hua." Lien Xiaochao said casually, as if he wasn't too interested in Gao Dezhuang's whereabouts. Swordsman Lien. Qi Peng understood Lien Xiaocao's thoughts. He flew to his side and said, "That terrifying phoenix is really powerful. You don't mind it. Losing to him is nothing. You always come out unscathed. And just now, this Qi was injured by Xiao Hua's strange magic weapon. Moreover, I almost lost my life." He is actually so powerful? Lien Xiaocao's face turned pale. He didn't quite believe Qi Peng's words. Qi Peng naturally wouldn't tell him the details of how his wings were cut off by Xiao Hua. He only smiled and said, "Of course. Why would this old man lie to you? This guy can even kill Qin Jian, who is at the 3rd grade of the illusory sword. What's more, we are not real swordsmen of the sword region. Xiao Hua is indeed powerful. His arms have the strength of 10,000 catties." Lien Xiaochao hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, "Even his staff technique is unique. It's not much worse than my ancestral staff technique. He can defeat this Qi Peng and even kill this Qi Peng." This Qi Peng is convinced. But, just now when Senior Huajian's sword intent appeared, his body also had Huajian's sword intent. That might be slightly weaker than Senior Huajian's sword intent, but it's still Huajian. What? Huajian's sword intent? Are you sure? Qi Peng was naturally shocked and asked Lien Xiaochao in an incredulous tone. Alas, this Qi Peng has been thinking about the Huajian's sword intent. The more I think about it, the more scared I am. Valley Master Qi should know that although my Huajian doesn't cultivate flying swords, I'm not unfamiliar with flying swords. I'm even very sensitive to them. My Huajian lineage hid in Huajian because we couldn't cultivate flying swords. How could I be wrong about the Huajian sword intent? Since Lien Xiaochao said so, he revealed everything. Since Xiao Hua has Huajian's cultivation, could he be someone from the sword region? Hearing this, Qi Peng also understood Lien Xiaocao's fear. That's right, everyone in the sword region knew that when LV Ruochang entered the sword tomb, he was lured into the 10 Directions Annihilation Formation by a Huajian sword intent. Moreover, that sword intent also contained the sword energy of the Huajian sword sect. If this Xiao Hua really had Huajian sword intent, then the matter of luring sword cultivators into the formation must have been done by him. How could a cultivator like Xiao Hua be able to cultivate Huajian in the 3 kingdoms? He must have cultivated in the sword region, but since he cultivated in the sword region, then he must be one of the sword region's Huajian. Qi Peng even wanted to slap his head and say the name of a certain Huajian senior. However, did Qi Peng dare? The reason why Lian Xiaocao's face was pale seemed to be because of this. To be able to sneak into the sword region and cultivate Huajian, this Dao sect could not be said to be small. Although any Huajian couldn't destroy the Huajian Valley or Huajian Mountain Ridge, if they deliberately went against these two sects, even the many Huajian swords who came to the Lian kingdom to participate in the war would have to think twice. The more he thought, the paler Qi Peng's face became. He didn't dare to imagine. If he reported this matter to the Huajian swords, what kind of situation would that be? Suspicion and jealousy would immediately become the mainstream among the Huajian swords. There was no need to fight this battle of swords anymore. The sword region had already lost. Be careful with your words. Qi Peng glanced at Lian Xiaocao, and there was an inexplicable meaning in their eyes. For a moment, the wind whistled in the foothills. The two of them didn't dare to say another word, as if they said half a word more, the whole battle situation would be reversed. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, an anxious voice sounded. Valley Master Qi, Valley Master Qi. From the distant mountain rocks, a tall and strong figure suddenly appeared. His face was also pale, and even had the same fear. As soon as he saw Qi Peng, he shouted loudly. Qi Peng frowned slightly and asked, Fellow swordsman Gao, did you catch up to Xiaohua? Although Gao Dazhuang was panicking, when he saw Qi Peng's frown, he immediately understood what Qi Peng was thinking. He hurriedly smiled and said, When I saw Valley Master Qi chasing after Xiaohua, I immediately used the earth escape technique to go in front of Xiaohua to block him. Who would have thought that before I could escape from the earth, I saw Xiaohua also escape into the mountain rocks. I won't hide it from Valley Master Qi, this fiend really scared me. I thought that he discovered my whereabouts, so I hid in the mountain rocks and didn't dare to move. Fortunately, that fiend didn't discover my whereabouts, but used the 5 elements escape technique. When Gao Dazhuang said this, the smile on his face didn't deepen. Instead, it slowly disappeared, and the heavy fear appeared in his eyes again. Guess, what did I see? What did you see? Qi Peng was shocked. He raised his eyes to look at Lian Xiaocao. The two of them almost thought that Gao Dazhuang also saw the Huajian swordsmanship on Xiaohua's body. Who would have thought that Gao Dazhuang's words would make them even more shocked? Gao Mao hid for a while and saw that the fiend didn't notice Gao Mao. Instead, he swaggered and used the 5 elements escape technique. Therefore, Gao Mao boldly followed behind him, wanting to see if there was a chance to kill him in the rocks. Gao Dazhuang continued, However, although that fiend's 5 elements escape technique isn't as wonderful as my cloud caves, it also has its own wonders. Although I could catch up, I couldn't get close. After he escaped for dozens of miles, he actually escaped from the mountain rocks again. At this point, Gao Dazhuang hesitated again. He paused for a moment and continued, When I saw that fiend come out of the earth, I knew that I had already lost the chance to kill him. I originally wanted to return to this place. But this Gao was truly unwilling to accept this, so I quietly left the soil. However, just as this Gao came out of the soil, I heard a burst of thunder coming from above this Gao's head. That Xiaohua actually rode on the thunder and rushed towards the south at a speed that this Gao couldn't see clearly. Chapter 2745. That Xiaohua is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Being able to control lightning is nothing. Knowing that Gao Dazhuang didn't see Xiaohua's sword intent, Lian Xiaocao was relieved and said. However, Qi Peng suddenly realized and said anxiously, You said that Xiaohua's lightning escape technique was so fast that even you couldn't see it clearly? Yes. If it was a simple lightning escape technique, would I still be so scared? Gao Dazhuang's eyes flashed with pride. I can guarantee Valley Master Qi that this terrifying phoenix Xiaohua is that nameless from the Imperial Thunder Sect. How is that possible? Lian Xiaocao was the first to jump up. Nameless is a nascent soul cultivator. He has already returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect. At this point, Lian Xiaocao seemed to have thought of something and his face changed again. He looked at Qi Peng with a terrifying gaze. At this time, Qi Peng, who received Gao Dazhuang's news, was dumbstruck. He had the same thought as Lian Xiaocao. Yes, if Xiaohua was nameless, Then, these two cultivators with completely different faces and images were actually the same person. Then, Xiao Hua, who possessed the sword transformation technique. Could he transform into any sword transformation swordsman? Although the sword transformation technique might not be transformed, but, since Xiao Hua could transform into a face, how could he not transform into a sword transformation technique? This was too inconceivable and too terrifying, wasn't it? Facing such an opponent who had countless incarnations and whose strength was close to nascent soul and sword transformation realm, perhaps the entire sword catacomb, was really destroyed by him. Even if there were tens of thousands of swordsmen in the sword domain, who could be his opponent? Think about it. This is a nascent soul cultivator. Gao Dezhuang was extremely lucky. Just now, he didn't kill us in one fell swoop. We are really lucky. Humph, how is that possible? Qi Peng said coldly. Don't you think that if that Xiao Hua was nameless, how could he let us go? Besides, sword friend Lien fought with Xiao Hua before. Why did he think that Xiao Hua couldn't be a nascent soul cultivator? That's right. Lien Xiaoqiao, who had always been slow to react, immediately came to her senses and hurriedly said, if he is a nascent soul cultivator, how can he compete with me in terms of battle strength? You'll be able to kill us with just one spell, right? How can you be so sure that Xiao Hua is John Doe just by hearing about his lightning evasion? But, Gao Dezhuang was a little anxious. Whenever he heard the sound of thunder, he would think of the famous Wuming. But now that Xiao Qiao had mentioned it, he was a little uncertain. Sigh, fellow swordsman Gao, what you say makes sense, but it's too far-fetched. If we report this to the swordsmanship master without any basis, I'm afraid that the swordsmanship master will think that we're making this report out of fear or defeat. Isn't that a bit inappropriate? Qi Peng thought for a moment and sighed. Why don't we discuss it first and find a reliable swordsman who can definitely handle the situation? Why don't we explain it in front of all the teachers first? That's right, that's how it should be. Gao Dezhuang didn't have any ideas and hurriedly clapped his hands and cheered. At this time, in the north, dozens of swordsmen were flying over on their swords. There were 3rd-grade illusory swords and 6th-grade bright swords. They were all attracted by Qi Peng's previous distress signal. Let's go, Qi Peng sighed for no reason. He was just passing by with Gao Dezhuang and Lien Xiaoqiao. To think that they would encounter such a plot by the Taoist sect. He definitely had to report this matter. However, how to report it and who to report it to was another problem. Xiao Hua, who was flying on lightning, was in an extremely good mood. Although the battle with Lien Xiaoqiao had consumed his strength, it had also lessened the gloominess in his heart. The power of the spirit-slaying vital light once again proved that he still had the strength to kill 3rd-grade illusory swords, and was not as powerless as he was in the blood-drop paradise. Perhaps only by fighting can I really increase my strength. At this time, Xiao Hua also somewhat believed the purpose of Xiao Mao and Li Zongbao's participation in the battle. Xiao Hua was refreshed, but he didn't expect that he would so easily reveal his flaws in front of Qi Peng, Lien Xiaoqiao, and Gao Dezhuang, giving the mysterious John Doe a weakness that could be used against him. Although this weakness was still a little fake, a weakness was still a weakness. As long as some people saw it, it would eventually become the truth. However, this was not the most serious thing. After all, these were the suspicions of the swordsmen of the Huan Kingdom. Even if they knew that Xiao Hua was John Doe, it would only increase the horror and add a thick stroke to the already famous name of the terrifying Phoenix. Compared to these, what happened in Sky Patrol City at this time was enough to knock Xiao Hua down to the mortal world and kill him by a Yuanying stage cultivator. In Sky Patrol City, in the City Lord's mansion, Immortal Shui Yu's face had a trace of coldness. He was sitting on a futon, and Feng Lengbai and Jin Kang were still standing respectfully in front of him. As usual, the 2 golden elixir disciples kept their mouths shut and their eyes were fixed on the ground. They didn't dare to raise their heads at all. This was because they knew that although Immortal Shui Yu looked calm on the surface, his heart was already in turmoil. If they said something wrong, they were afraid that they would immediately bring about an unexpected disaster. Humph. After an unknown period of time, Immortal Shui Yu snorted coldly, scaring Jin Kang and Feng Lengbai. The two looked at each other and knew that they couldn't ignore it. They hurriedly bowed and asked, City Lord Yu? Why are you doing this? Didn't you hold a banquet in the City Lord's mansion to invite the Yuanying stage masters from various sects? During the banquet, the master spoke highly of Sky Patrol City. Why? Why is the city lord so angry after returning to the mansion? Humph, a group of ignorant people. You've gone too far in bullying Sky Patrol City. As Daoist Shuiyu let out an angry roar, he slammed his palm into the air. There was a whistling sound as if there was a hurricane. Then there was a loud bang and the air suddenly exploded. Countless airwaves spread out in all directions. Golden Core disciples like Jin Kang and Feng Lengbai couldn't stand still in the airwaves. They had to take a few steps back before they were able to stand still with great difficulty. However, at this time, the two of them were relieved. After all, Immortal Shuiyu was angry and pointed out the source of his anger. They should be fine. Sure enough, they heard Immortal Shuiyu say angrily, I held a banquet in the city lord's mansion to entertain them. They really think that they are the masters of Sky Patrol City. Lengbai, tell me, how much did Sky Patrol City invest in this battle? How many disciples did we lose? In the face of Immortal Shuiyu's sudden question, Feng Lengbai was stunned. However, he immediately replied, reporting to the city lord, Sky Patrol City's direct and indirect losses were huge. Not to mention the spiritual stones. A few spiritual stone veins were taken away by sword cultivators. Even if they were taken back, the spiritual stones inside were long gone and have been abandoned. The spiritual stones should be in the tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. What I can say is the loss of disciples in Sky Patrol City. Feng Langbi said bitterly, in the past 10 years, our Sky Patrol City has lost 138,096 disciples. Among them, the Golden Elixir disciples. Before Feng Lengbai could finish, Immortal Shuiyu was furious again when he heard the shocking number. Humph. How many disciples does Sky Patrol City have in total? So many died in a battle of Dao cultivators. And what does this mean in the eyes of those ignorant people? Sky Patrol City stands in the north of the country of Shi and is the vanguard of Shi Dao sect. Sky Patrol City's actions are the example of Dao sect. We should learn from the three kingdoms of cultivation. This old man feels that your words are truly laughable. Is my Sky Patrol City worthy of such praise? Immortal Shuiyu said angrily. In addition to this sentence, all the nascent soul cultivators at the banquet were praising one another. One said that this battle was outstanding, and one said that another sect's disciple was brave. What do they take Sky Patrol City for? Feng Lengbai and Jin Kang lowered their heads. The corners of their eyes twitched slightly. They could hear that it was Sun Yunzi of Xianxia sect who said that Sky Patrol City was only a chess piece of Xianxia sect, a fortress. The condescending praise made them unhappy. Look at Imperial Thunder Sect. Isn't that Golden Core disciple called Qian Mo self-destructing? They actually said that he was extremely loyal and brave. His schemes are unparalleled in the world. At the mention of the Imperial Thunder Sect, Shuiyu became even angrier. The Imperial Thunder Sect set up such a great formation in the sword domain. It's the 10-direction annihilation formation, but they didn't even greet me. Who are they guarding against? They are guarding against me. They are guarding against my Sky Patrol City. My Sky Patrol City's GMO also fell in the sword catacomb battle. Did anyone mention it? Furthermore, what does that bullshit Qianmo know? No one paid attention to him in the conference hall. He only made jokes that would make people laugh. What does he know about formations? Wasn't the formation of the sword catacomb thought of by Tu Hong of my Sky Patrol City? Poof. There was another explosion in the void, scaring Jin Kang and Feng Lang into shrinking their necks again. Needless to say, Shuiyu's Taoist master mentioned Tu Hong and Xiao Hua again. Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect assassinated my Jin Dan stage disciple for his own selfish reasons and even usurped my Sky Patrol City's merit points. Imperial Thunder Sect, they are really shameless. No wonder Chen Lei Zi didn't dare to come to Sky Patrol City. No wonder Dui Jie didn't dare to enter my Sky Patrol City. They are all up to something. When he heard up to here, Feng Lengbai forcefully restrained his panic and said in a low voice, City Governor, actually, during the banquet earlier, you should have directly exposed the thunder-controlling sect's hypocritical ghost face and asked Xiao Hua to come out and confront him. Humph, what do you know? Immortal Shuiyu snorted. Imperial Thunder Sect must be targeting my Sky Patrol City. They must want to expand their power in the northern part of the country of Shi. How can they leave any loopholes? Even if I say it in front of them, Chen Lei Zi is not here. Will Immortal me you admit it? Didn't you see that crazy genius? Damn it, he just stepped into the nascent soul realm, but his nose is already on the top of his head. Can he answer me? If I say it, it will be enough to make me lose face. Actually, City Lord, you don't have to do this. You just need to use the name of rewarding merits to send Xiao Hua to Sky Patrol City. Jin Kang saw that Fong Lengbai had opened his mouth and he couldn't just stand there, so he quickly added. Do you think I don't want to say it? Immortal Shuiyu squinted at the two of them and seemed to vent his anger a little. He said, when I just opened my mouth, Quang Tian praised the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples for their bravery. It seemed that except for the Imperial Thunder Sect, the disciples of other sects were just a mob. He even asked me about Xiao Hua's whereabouts. It was as if Xiao Hua's delay in coming to Sky Patrol City was the responsibility of Sky Patrol City. Yes, we also heard it. Jin Kang hurriedly said, Immortal He Ping of the Utopia faction praised Li Zongbao, Xiao Mao, and Xiao Hua very much. He also said that the three of them would be the rising stars of the three kingdoms of cultivation in the future. In the next sword battle, the three of them would be on duty in the conference hall. Indeed, Fong Lengbai also said. Immortal Yi Xian and Fairy Jie Qiong of the Xuanyan school even said that Xiao Mao was 100 times better than Li Zongbao. If it weren't for Immortal He Ping's excellent bearing. He Ping is the head of the Utopia faction. How could he lower himself to their level? Immortal Shuiyu curled his lips and said, Fairy Yingjua of the Xuanyan school has always been a female cultivator who is not afraid of trouble. She has always liked to join in the fun. I don't know why she suddenly went into seclusion this time. Is she really going to break through? Chapter 2746. I don't think so. Fong Lengbai said hurriedly. Fairy Yingjua is already a cultivator in the late stage of the nascent soul realm. Her cultivation is even lower than that of Sun Yunzi of the Xianghua sect and Lu Enai Zhenren of the Qiqiao sect. How could she reach the soul formation realm when the two seniors didn't do anything? Could it be that Senior Yingjua has some scruples like Qian Lazy? Jin Kang glanced at Master Shui and asked in a low voice. Maybe. Master Shui waved his hand impatiently. Lengbai, those gold core cultivators in the conference hall made such a big move and you didn't know anything about it. With a plop, Fong Lengbai's face turned as white as snow. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged. City Lord, this is all my fault. My arrangements were wrong and delayed City Lord's plan. Get up. Master Shui said coldly. You're also a gold core cultivator. There's no reason for you to kneel. This subordinate. Fong Lengbai still didn't dare to get up, and said in a low voice. This subordinate is the City Lord's subordinate, and also stepped into the Golden Core realm under the City Lord's guidance. This subordinate naturally wouldn't kneel to anyone else, but it's only right for this subordinate to kneel to the City Lord. Humph, get up. Master Shui sneered. You didn't make much contribution in this battle, but you made a lot of mistakes. However, you've been working hard for my Sky Patrol City. Even if you don't have any merits, you've still worked hard. Think about how you'll be punished after the battle and report to me. Yes, I know. I'll definitely do my best for the Sky Patrol City. Fong Lengbai didn't dare to kneel anymore. He hurriedly got up, wiped the sweat on his forehead and said in a low voice. Please punish yourself too. Jin Kang, who was next to him, hurriedly said. What this subordinate has done is not as much as others, so there are fewer mistakes, but I have neither merit nor fault. Please punish me, City Lord. Humph, you're the same as Lengbai. We'll talk about it after the battle. Master Shui's face turned ugly, but there was no anger in his eyes. Besides, what about Wu Ming from the thunder-controlling sect? However, Sage Shuiyu's casual question startled Fong Lengbai. He quickly smiled and said, I only know that Nameless appeared in the Seven Extremes Ridge once and then appeared in the Sword Catacomb. As for who he is, I don't know. This person's cultivation is amazing. He can actually conceive a baby in the sword tomb. This really surprises this old man. Shuiyu spiritual master didn't blame Fong Lengbai this time. He said lightly, it would be strange if you found out about such a mysterious person. Then he laughed at himself and said, it's not just you. Even the current thunder-controlling sect is having a headache because they don't know which thunder palace this Wu Ming is from. Facing Sun Yunzi and Reverend Lu Su's questions, Reverend Miyu doesn't even know how to answer. Actually, Fong Lang hesitated and said in a low voice, In my opinion, the thunder-controlling sect might know who Wu Ming is. What do you think? Shui Yu asked, slightly taken aback. City Lord, think about it. Is it easier to dodge a spear in the open or an arrow in the dark? Feng Lengbai didn't dare to say more. Good, Shui Yu spiritual master immediately understood. He clapped his hands and said, Lung, you're really smart. The thunder-controlling sect only has so many late-stage gold core disciples. How could they not know who Wu Ming is? Their spiritual master Quangtian has just advanced to the nascent soul realm and has been targeted by the Xianxia sect, Xuanyan school, and Qiqiao sect. This Wu Ming. I'm afraid he didn't want to attract the attention of the three sects, so he came to my Sky Patrol city to find a chance to conceive a baby. But it just so happened that it caused such a big sensation. It's hard for Wu Ming not to be famous. Not to mention my Sky Patrol city, the Xianxia sect and the other two sects must have sent more people to find Wu Ming. Under such circumstances, would the thunder-controlling sect dare to expose Wu Ming's background? Yes, you're right, City Lord. Feng Lengbai hurriedly smiled. I just thought that Wu Ming wanted to hide his cultivation and didn't want others to know. I didn't think that City Lord had thought so thoroughly and so much. City Lord. Jean King didn't dare to say much so that Feng Lengbai could perform more. But when he heard this, his face suddenly changed and he hurriedly said, I suddenly have an idea. I don't know if I should say it. Say it. Shui Yu spiritual master waved his hand. What can't you say in the City Lord's mansion? This subordinate also suddenly had a thought, that Wu Ming, is he Xiaohua? These words were like a bolt of lightning that flashed across the entire mansion. Shui Yu and Feng Lengbai were both startled, especially Feng Lengbai. He excitedly said, That's right, Lord City Lord, it really is possible. Only Xiaohua, who is nameless and possesses strength at the peak of the late Jindan stage, is able to assassinate junior brother Tu Hong, kill Qin Jian, and establish such a meritorious service. Shui Yu's spiritual master's eyes flashed with surprise and then disappeared. He looked at the excited Feng Lengbai and shook his head. I'm afraid it's not right. Why? Feng Lengbai didn't understand. Haha, it's simple. That Wu Ming is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect of unknown origin to us. Of course, in the Imperial Thunder sect, it's impossible for him to be unknown. Shui Yu's spiritual master said with a smile. And Xiao Hua is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect of the Imperial Thunder sect. No matter how high his cultivation is, it's impossible for him to surpass the mid-stage gold core realm. Don't forget, Qian Mo of the Heavenly Thunder Palace is only at the mid-stage gold core realm. The Imperial Thunder sect can't send another mid-stage gold core disciple to hide among them. Also Xiaohua and that Cui something are fellow disciples. Their master seems to have just reached the late-stage foundation establishment realm. How could Xiaohua be pregnant? Of course you can also say that Xiaohua was only a mid-stage foundation establishment realm disciple when he first came to our Sky Patrol city. In these 10 years, in the Mount Quanjin array, his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. But, do you think he can be pregnant in such a short time? But, he was able to assassinate Junior Tu and kill Qin Jian. Feng Lengbai said with some dissatisfaction. Haha, when he assassinated Tu Hong, he didn't use our Dao Sect's technique. I don't know how he killed Qin Jian, but I know that from the mid-stage foundation establishment realm to the core formation realm, 10 years is possible. But from the mid-stage gold core realm to the core formation realm, 10 years is absolutely impossible. Not to mention from the mid-stage foundation establishment realm to the core formation realm, that's hundreds of years of hard work. When it came to the core formation realm, Feng Lengbai naturally couldn't debate with Shui Yu's spiritual master. Moreover, the reason they regarded Xiao Hua as nameless was because of Shui Yu's assertion that it was Xiao Hua who killed Tu Hong. As for this matter, it seemed like it was only a guess and was far from being true. Since it was like this, Feng Langbi could only resentfully say, So City Lord is right. But what if Wu Ming isn't pregnant? But core formation realm. Ha ha ha, then that's even more nonsense. Shui Yu's spiritual master laughed and said, Do you think Lu Ruochang and the other third-grade illusory swordsmen went to the sword catacomb to play? They set up the 4-square sword formation to kill the hundreds of thousands of Dao sect cultivators. At the final critical moment, If they weren't suppressed by Wu Ming's nascent soul realm aura, would they let go so easily? Didn't you see Lu Ruochang forcing Wu Ming to let go in order to kill Hang Ming and the others? If it weren't for the timely battle report from the Lian Kingdom, Wu Ming would have killed Lu Ruochang and the others on the spot. You're definitely not a nascent soul realm cultivator. How could others do such a thing? Yes, that's true. I've made a mistake. Fong Lengbai nodded. Shui Yu spiritual master's words were indeed reasonable. Actually, for my Sky Patrol City, the most important thing now is not to find Wu Ming, nor to kill Xiao Hua. Shui Yu spiritual master said thoughtfully, but to find the reason why the sword catacomb disappeared. Speaking of the disappearance of the sword catacomb, Fong Lengbai and Jin Kang were even more puzzled. Yes, this was one of the 10 most dangerous places in the Xiaoyu continent. Although it was ranked at the bottom, it was still extremely dangerous. No nascent soul realm cultivator or sword transformation cultivator dared to enter it easily. However, such a dangerous place had actually disappeared completely in the Battle of the Tao of the Sword. Other than some space cracks left behind, all the remaining arrays, sword formations, and sorrowful sword intent and sharp sword light had disappeared. This was something that they had never even dreamt of. Without the sword catacomb, the sword cultivators of the Huan country can easily enter the country of Xi. My Sky Patrol City will bear the brunt. Shui Yu spiritual master frowned and said, facing the sword cultivators' attack head-on, my Sky Patrol City will not be able to handle it. Yes, my Sky Patrol City has suffered too much damage in this battle. I don't know if my Sky Patrol City will be able to recover in another battle in 100 years or hundreds of years. Jin Kang also sighed. Fong Lengbai was still frowning and said in confusion, the sword transformation sword intent in the sword catacomb, the dragon's roar before the sword catacomb disappeared, and the celestial phenomenon when Wu Ming was pregnant was different from that of ordinary cultivators. What's the connection? Although Wu Ming himself said that the disappearance of the sword catacomb had nothing to do with him, it doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with him. Humph, I was the one who said that the disappearance of the sword catacomb had nothing to do with me. Shui Yu spiritual master sneered, but if I said that, wouldn't I become the laughingstock of the world? Yes, I also think that even if Wu Ming is a nascent soul realm cultivator, it has nothing to do with the disappearance of the sword catacomb. Jin Kang nodded, and it has nothing to do with the sword transformation sword intent. It should have something to do with the dragon's roar. The dragon's roar. Where did it come from? Shui Yu spiritual master was really puzzled. My Dawn Rain continent has never had such a high-level demonic beast. Lengbai, how's your investigation? Fong Lengbai's forehead was covered in sweat again, and he hurriedly said, I've sent many disciples to the sword catacomb, but they didn't find anything special. The fierce wind when the sword catacomb disappeared destroyed all the traces, leaving nothing behind. Yes, and 20 years ago, someone reported that many cultivators went missing in the sword catacomb? Shui Yu spiritual master asked again. Fong Lengbai was slightly stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. Every year, many cultivators die in the sword catacomb. I've sent people to investigate the matter 20 years ago, but first, those cultivators were mostly rogue cultivators, and second, the cultivators' realms were low, at most in the late stage of Foundation establishment. Weren't they seeking death by entering the sword catacomb? This matter has nothing to do with my Sky Patrol City, and I didn't find anything, so I stopped. Shui Yu spiritual master seemed to ask casually, and then he looked outside the palace door, as if thinking about something. Fong Lengbai let out a long sigh of relief, and looked at Jin Kang, who was also very cautious, and felt that his back was wet. Actually, after a long time, Shui Yu spiritual master's faint voice sounded from his mouth. I'm angry today, not because of your mistakes, and not because of the heavy losses of my Sky Patrol City. When Fong Lengbai and Jin Kang heard this, they couldn't help but be stunned, and looked at each other in shock. Their eyes were filled with deep vigilance. After the banquet, Sun Yunzi of the Xianxia sect said a few words to me. Shui Yu spiritual master seemed to be speaking calmly, but his tone was heavy and filled with unwillingness. Fong Lengbai and Jin Kang knew that this was definitely not the time for them to ask questions, so they closed their mouths and quietly waited for Shui Yu spiritual master to explain. Now the great war of Tao and sword has come to an end. The sword cultivators attacked our 3 cultivation countries en masse, and a large area of the Ripple country fell into their hands. Looking at the war over the past 10 years, This sword cultivator Lu Ruochang is truly amazing. His control of all the formations and formations can be described as flawless, unpredictable, and so on. At this point, Master Xueyu paused for a moment. Chapter 2747. Feng Lengbai and the others nodded as they listened. That was right. The sword cultivator's plan was perfect in this battle. It was simply flawless. Not to mention the golden core cultivators in the conference hall. Even if they were to face LV Ruochang, they would not be able to escape the fate of being defeated. Master Xueyu paused for a moment and said, "In the beginning, when they attacked the territory, we thought that the sword cultivators were training their disciples like before. Then, when they attacked the spirit stone mine, we thought that they wanted to snatch the spirit stones. Finally, when they set up the formation in the sword catacomb, we thought that they wanted to kill our disciples. However, no one expected LV Ruochang to come up with a plan that revealed their ultimate goal. They wanted to occupy the land of the Lian Kingdom. Throughout the 10 Years' War, LV Ruochang led the golden core cultivators in the meeting hall by the nose. Compared to her, the golden core cultivators in the meeting hall were simply a group of Jurassic beasts. I don't know how this little girl planned it. Even I can't figure out what she's thinking." Master Xueyu sighed. There's no if. Tu Hong was assassinated by Xiao Hua, which destroyed the foundation of our sect. It would be strange if we didn't lose the war. Jin Kang and Feng Lengbai were puzzled when they heard that Master Xueyu was talking about the war and seemed to have nothing to do with Sun Yunzi. They thought about it as they listened, but they did not expect Master Xueyu to say anything. Now that the sword cultivators of the Huan Kingdom have retreated from the Sky Patrol City and went around the sword catacomb to the Lian Kingdom, our Sky Patrol City is no longer a stronghold. If the meeting hall is set up in our Sky Patrol City, it will be disadvantageous for the war. Master Xueyu finally said, Sun Yunzi has already discussed with the sect leaders of the other 2 kingdoms to move the meeting hall to the Lian Kingdom. What? The meeting hall is being moved from our Sky Patrol City? Feng Lengbai and Jin Kang were shocked. This was something they had never thought of. It seemed that the meeting hall had been set up in the Sky Patrol City since the beginning of the Taoist Sword War. Although the meeting hall was the core of the sect's war command, the Sky Patrol City had already treated the meeting hall as part of its territory. They had never heard of the meeting hall being moved from the Sky Patrol City. How can this be? Jin Kang was at a loss for words. How can the meeting hall be removed from my Sky Patrol City? When the birds are gone, the bow is put away. When the cunning rabbit is dead, the hound is cooked. Feng Lengbai sneered. Although the great battle has yet to end, the nascent soul cultivators of the various sects have all gathered. Even if Huashan's sword has the power to reach the heavens, I'm afraid that he will not be able to reverse the outcome of the great battle of Daowen's sword. In any case, they had collected enough energy stones and trained their own disciples. With 1 million energy stones, these iron-blooded disciples would be able to fight against soul cultivators in Meng Mountains. The wishes of those who transformed into swords had been fulfilled. What else was there to say? As long as the confrontation lasted for a year and a half, Hua Jian would gain face and everything would be over. The sword cultivators would then return to Han country. These nascent soul cultivators had also contributed greatly. But what about the contributions of my Sky Patrol City? I'm afraid that with the departure of the meeting hall, the lives of the 180,000 disciples of Sky Patrol City will be lost. Damn it! Despicable! How hateful! Jin Kang came to his senses and said hatefully, the various sects of the 3 kingdoms of cultivation? What do they take my Sky Patrol City for? What? Nothing at all. Feng Lengbai sneered. What 9 great cities? What 10 great cities? They're just pawns in their eyes. They're just a bunch of wild foxes. Speaking of this, Feng Lengbai's face showed a hint of interest. He clapped his hand and took out a jade slip. He handed it to Immortal Xueyu respectfully and said, Didn't the city lord ask me to pay attention to the news of the Heavenly Demon Sect? It turns out that the Heavenly Demon Sect is so mysterious that it's really difficult for me to find their whereabouts. Now the Heavenly Demon Sect has established a sect in Shi country, Meng country, and Lian country at the same time. This is really a slap in the face for those self-proclaimed orthodox cultivators. Is that so? When did this happen? Immortal Xueyu was also stunned. He waved his hand and the jade slip flew into his hand. He then checked it with his divine sense. I just received the news. Fong Lengbai said in a low voice. According to the disciple who sent the message, it happened in the past 10 days or so. My Sky Patrol city is still not as good as those cultivators. A strange look flashed across Immortal Shui Yu's eyes. Sun Yunzi and the others are probably worried that the Heavenly Demon sect will cause trouble behind their backs. That's why they moved the command center to Lian country. That must be it. They probably just received the news and changed their plans. They haven't even decided where to put the meeting hall. Qing Fengmin? Is that the sect leader of the Heavenly Demon sect? How come I've never heard of him? Immortal Shui Yu said with a smile. If I knew what kind of immortal this Qing Fengmin is, I would really want to befriend him and drink with him. This kind of real demon is much more adorable than the sanctimonious cultivators of the Dao sect. All right, I'll let the city lord know. Fong Lengbai said with a smile. This Qing Fengmin was originally a rogue cultivator organization, one of the founders of the Heavenly Forsaken. This Heavenly Forsaken has a great reputation among the low-level cultivators of the 3 countries of cultivation. It's said that they can provide any cultivation technique below the 7th level of qi refining. Many rogue cultivators joined, and their numbers were quite large. However, it seems that several decades ago, this Heavenly Forsaken suddenly disappeared. This Qing Fengmin, and the founder named Luo Jusen were all killed. Furthermore, some sects even sent out information that this Heavenly Forsaken was a tool used by Qing Fengmin and Luo Jusen to suck the flesh and blood of cultivators. Who knew? This Qing Fengmin didn't die. He even established a sect and became the sect leader of the Heavenly Demon sect? It's really strange. Without waiting for Fong Lengbai to finish, Immortal Shui Yu sneered. What's so strange about it? The truth is definitely different from what the cultivator sect said. I'm almost certain that this Heavenly Forsaken must have touched the interests of some cultivator sections. That's why he was killed by those sections. It's fine if they killed him, but they even labeled him as a demon's flesh and blood food. But now, he had really cultivated the Devil Dao and established his own sect. Those cultivator sects that attacked him are probably sitting on pins and needles now. This Qing Fengmin is really amazing. Jean Kang said with admiration. He actually took advantage of the time when the nascent soul cultivators from various sects came to our Sky Patrol city and established a sect during the Sword Dao War, so that the other sects were too busy to deal with the Heavenly Demon sect. Not only that, Fong Lengbai said again, this Heavenly Demon sect destroyed several aristocratic families in the state of Shi, the state of Lian, and the state of Meng, and even 2 cultivator sections. At the same time they established sects in the 3 countries. Even the disciples of our Sky Patrol city couldn't find these 3 places. Which one is the real Heavenly Demon sect? A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Qing Fengmin is really smart. Jean King nodded. Immortal Shui Yu sneered. You're all wrong. From what I see, these 3 places are the real Heavenly Demon sect. Or maybe these 3 places aren't the real Heavenly Demon sect. If these 3 places are fake, I can understand. But if these 3 places were all real, then, how powerful will this Heavenly Demon sect be? Jean Kang and Fong Lengbai looked at each other in shock. Lengbai, didn't you just say it? This Qing Fengmin is the founder of Heaven Forsaken, and Heaven Forsaken is mainly made up of rogue cultivators and low-level cultivators. How many low-level cultivators are there on the Dawn Rain continent? Think about it, this Heavenly Demon sect must be based on Heaven Forsaken. So how many disciples can it have? Immortal Shui Yu explained. However, the longevity of a sect doesn't only depend on its disciples, cultivation techniques, spirit stones, and other factors. It also depends on its high-level disciples. If it weren't for me, how could this Sky Patrol city still be called a Sky Patrol city? Even if I'm here, aren't they still bullied by other cultivator sects? If this Heavenly Demon sect doesn't have a nascent soul cultivator, I'm afraid it won't last long. I'm afraid it's just a flash in the pan. I'm afraid it'll only become the laughingstock of the Dawn Rain continent's cultivators. Immortal Shui Yu said, I'm afraid, 3 times in a row, which showed his anticipation for this Heavenly Demon sect. He was looking forward to this sect, which was mainly made up of devil cultivators, being able to stand firmly in the 3 countries of cultivation. City Lord, let's not talk about this Heavenly Demon sect, whose background we don't know first. Fong Lengbai sighed. Now that our Sky Patrol city doesn't have the barrier of the sword tomb, We have to face the sword cultivators directly. The meeting hall is moving to the Lien country, so won't our Sky Patrol city be exposed to the sword cultivators' attacks? If the sword cultivator army besieges our Sky Patrol city, it'll be a troublesome matter. Haha, Leng Bai, you worry too much. Immortal Shuiyu laughed. Our Sky Patrol city has been besieged by the sword cultivator army before, but every time, the sword cultivators returned in defeat. Every time, there were even swordsmen who died in our Sky Patrol city's formation. How would they dare to target our Sky Patrol city? Moreover, the Sky Patrol city is extremely cold, and it's not much different from the Hun country. Why would the sword cultivators want to target our Sky Patrol city? Why would they give up the Lien country's good territory and come looking for trouble with our Sky Patrol city? City Lord, you're right. However, we have to be on our guard. Jean Kang said respectfully, since our Sky Patrol city won't be participating in the upcoming sword battle, we can concentrate on management. At this point, Immortal Shuiyu, who had calmed down, was suddenly startled. Then, he stood up from the futon in surprise and rushed out of the main hall without listening to Jean Kang's words. City Lord, this is... Jean King stopped and looked at Fong Lengbai. I'm afraid something happened in the Sky Patrol city again. Fong Lengbai said in a low voice. It can't be. Jean Kang shook his head. A group of nascent soul cultivators gathered in the Sky Patrol city. Which blind cultivator or swordsman would dare to cause trouble in the Sky Patrol city? Just as they were talking, they heard a hearty laugh outside the main hall. It was the depressed Immortal Shuiyu. Brother Dui, I haven't seen you for many years. I didn't expect you to reach the peak of the middle stage nascent soul realm in just a few decades. You're just one step away from the late stage nascent soul realm. I'm really envious. Chapter 2748. Immortal Dui? When Fong Lengbai and Jean Kang heard this, their eyes lit up. They knew that Immortal Dui was a good friend of Immortal Music Sex Immortal Shuiyu before she was pregnant. Immortal Dui was one of the reasons why Immortal Shuiyu could take over Sky Patrol City. In the early years, Fong Lengbai and Jean Kang had seen how Immortal Shuiyu treated Immortal Dui with great hospitality. In the blink of an eye, 70 to 80 years had passed. They never thought that Immortal Dui would come to Sky Patrol City during the sword battle. The two of them did not dare to neglect. They hurriedly tidied up their clothes and walked to the door of the hall. They stood respectfully to welcome Immortal Dui. Fong Lengbai and Jean Kang smiled when they saw a tall middle-aged man wearing a bamboo green robe walk into the hall in front of Taoist Master Shuiyu. They bowed and said, Juniors greet Senior Dui. Not only was the middle-aged man tall, but his face and limbs were also bulky. There was even a beard on his slightly tanned face. The beard was so thick that it exposed his flesh and stood upright on his face, making him look extremely ferocious. Even though he was smiling at this moment, it still struck fear into the hearts of those around him. You can all get up. Immortal Dui shouted with a loud voice. I haven't seen you for a few days, and you're already at the middle stage of Gold Core. It seems that you're pregnant. We don't dare. Jean Kang and Fong Lengbai knew that Immortal Dui was not as fierce as he looked. They smiled and said, compared to Senior, our progress is really insignificant. Haha, where did this morning rain continent have a magus? You should go to the ancient times to find a great magus. Immortal Dui laughed and walked into the hall. Brother Dui, please take a seat. Immortal Shuiyu respectfully asked Immortal Dui to sit on his futon. Forget it. I'm not destined to sit on that seat. Immortal Dui said. He clapped his hands and took out a jade chair. He placed it in the hall and sat down. Haha, Brother Dui is still free and easy. I'm really envious. Immortal Shuiyu said intimately. His face was full of envy. He waved his hand and said, Lengbai, get me a jade chair and a table. Yes, I understand. Fong Lengbai knew that Taoist Master Shuiyu did not have such items in his storage pouch. He quickly walked forward and took out the items from his own storage pouch. Jean King, don't be idle. Take a look and see if there are any precious spirit fruits in the residence. Perfected Shuiyu sat down with Perfected Dui and waved his hand to instruct Jean Kang. Yes, subordinate will go and look for it. Jean Kang did not dare to neglect and hurriedly went. Shuiyu Sage smiled and said, I've never been good at these things. Although there are many spiritual fruits in Sky Patrol City, I've never paid much attention to them. I'm sorry to have embarrassed myself in front of you. Ha ha, you flatter me, you flatter me. Your heart is as calm as a mirror, and you're not affected by external things. Only then can you make further progress. I envy you too. Immortal Dui laughed heartily. Fellow Taoist, you must be joking. Shui Yu perfected being was still polite. I'm not as calm as a mirror. I'm just worried about Sky Patrol City. How could I be in the mood to think about other things? How's the sword Dao battle going? Perfected Dui could not help but ask when he heard Perfected Shui mention the Sky Patrol City. Let's not talk about it. Perfected Shui Yu waved his hand and said, These are all mundane affairs. If you mention it, you'll disturb the joy of our reunion. Come, this is the winding silk wine of the Utopia faction. It was given to me by Perfected He Ping. Please have a taste. Oh? Perfected He Ping came to Sky Patrol City personally? It seems the Sword Dao battle is coming to an end. Perfected Dui raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. Alas, yes. Hurry up and end it. If it doesn't end soon, Sky Patrol City can't take it anymore. Perfected Shui Yu poured wine for Perfected Dui. They both raised their cups and took a sip. Perfected Dui sighed and said, It's really the winding silk wine. It's as if hundreds of sorrows have welled up in my heart and I can't fall asleep. As he spoke, he poured himself a cup and downed it in one gulp without Master Shui Yu's help. Why are you doing this? Perfected Shui Yu was puzzled. He poured a cup of wine for himself and asked slowly. I'm here today. For something. Perfected Dui said with a wry smile. What do you need me to do? Please give me your orders. I will do my best. Shui Yu's lips curled up as he spoke in a very natural manner. If you can do it, why should I be worried? Perfected Dui said with a smile. To think that it's something that even Taoist brother is worried about. I'm curious. Perfected Shui Yu poured wine for Perfected Dui again. He glanced at Fong Lengbai and said with a smile. City Governor, I'll go and urge senior brother Jean. Fong Lengbai said immediately. Before Perfected Shui Yu could say anything, Perfected Dui waved his hand and said, You don't have to leave. Maybe I'll ask you something. Yes, I know. Fong Lengbai was stunned and stopped in a hurry. Shui Yu, tell me about the situation of the Sword Dao battle. Perfected Dui took a sip of wine and said, Which nascent soul cultivator from each sect came to Sky Patrol City? Yes, Perfected Shui Yu didn't know what Perfected Dui wanted, but he didn't hide it. He told him about the battle and said, It's a bit strange this year. Other than the sects on duty at the conference hall, many other sect masters didn't come. There were even some early-stage nascent soul cultivators like me. Who are they? Perfected Dui asked as if he really didn't know. Perfected Shui Yu thought for a moment and said, Most of the nascent soul cultivators from the country of Shi came. They are Sun Yunzi from Xianghua sect, Perfected Yi Xian and Fairy Zheqiong from Xuanyan sect, Perfected Lu Ming from Qiqiao sect, Perfected Red Arm and Fairy Yun from Huanhua sect, Perfected Mi Yu and Perfected Quangqian from Imperial Thunder sect, Hua Zhishan, Hua Yaishui and Hua Paikong from Ardent Fire Mountain, Perfected Zhua Ming and Xian Yunzi from Bluli sect, Perfected Qing Yan and Perfected Lao Yun from Mozong Mountain. TSK. Although Ingzhua Fairy from Xuanyan sect and Qian Lazy from Imperial Thunder sect didn't come, they sent out 2 nascent soul cultivators at once. That's a total of 15 nascent soul cultivators from the country of Shi. What's more, I've never heard of Perfected Quangqian from the Imperial Thunder sect. It seems that the Imperial Thunder sect also sent out all their elites. That's right. Perfected Shui Yu smiled and said, Compared to the country of Shi, the country of Lian has fewer nascent soul cultivators. Who are they? Perfected He Ping from Utopia sect, Perfected Pin Xian from Shentian sect, Xian Jing and Sha Kongzi from Kunlun sect, Perfected Dao Ming from Nanming sect and Mo Qingzi from Rocky Border sect. Oh, why are there so few? Perfected Dui was slightly surprised. Not even half of the country of Shi? Actually, Perfected He Ping from Utopia sect didn't seem to want to come. Originally, he sent 2 nascent soul cultivators to come in his place. However, I heard that Sun Yunzi from Xianghua sect personally sent a message saying that Utopia sect had made great contributions this time. If Perfected He Ping didn't come, the Utopia sect would be inferior in the war. Perfected He Ping couldn't refuse, so he came. Perfected Shuiyu explained. What about Meng Kingdom? Perfected Yu Qing from Tai Qing sect, Yun Mingzi and perfected Jing Ru from Chongbai sect, Jiang Mingzi from Immortal Ascension sect, perfected Blue Feather from your sect, Bai Kongzi from Su Yen sect and perfected Sweeping Dust from Changyi sect. Perfected Shuiyu smiled and said, the 7 cultivators just now also didn't even have half of the country of Shi. Haha, I didn't expect Blue Feather to come too. Perfected Dui smiled and said, I haven't seen him for many years. Perfected Shuiyu's heart skipped a beat and he smiled and said, of course you're free and unfettered. Accompanying your master to cultivate in the unworldly celestial mountain. Not to mention I'm envious. Even perfected Blue Feather is eager to see you, right? Not at all. Perfected Dui's eyes flashed with a trace of pride, but his face was indifferent. He even waved his hand and said, although I can serve my master and receive his guidance from time to time, I don't have to worry about the continent of Shi clan. But after all, we've lost contact with the various sects and clans of the Dawn Rain continent. Even the necessary training has been greatly reduced. Tis, perfected Shuiyu smacked his lips and said enviously, fellow Taoist, you should be content. Guarding a senior at the late stage of the spirit-severing stage, who is also your master, this kind of opportunity, is not something that anyone can have. Hee, late stage of the spirit-severing stage? Perfected Dui smiled slightly. Could it be that Senior Chan has made another breakthrough? Perfected Shuiyu was overjoyed again and said hurriedly, could it be that Senior has another enlightenment in the war decades ago? Ha ha ha. Perfected Dui laughed and didn't explain. He just pointed outside the hall and said, the battle of the Imperial Demon Valley has been over for a long time. All the sects have recovered their vitality. Naturally, the teachers of my immortal music sect are no exception. Haha, I really have to congratulate Senior Chan. Perfected Shuiyu raised his cup and said, as far as I know, this is the first senior who participated in the battle of the Imperial Demon Valley to have a breakthrough. In just a few decades, my Morning Rain continent has another Void Refinement Realm cultivator. Hee, it hasn't reached that point yet. Brother, don't make wild guesses. And don't talk nonsense. Perfected Dui said with a smile. Hee, I know. Perfected Shuiyu said hurriedly, I'm the city lord of the Sky Patrol City. How can I not know such things? Besides, even if Senior Chan hasn't reached the Void Refinement Realm, since he has a breakthrough, he will have this step sooner or later. Senior Chan is definitely the only one in the Morning Rain continent who can make such progress in just a few decades. Hee, Perfected Du smiled and raised his cup to drink with Perfected Shuiyu. At this time, Jean Kang also returned and took out a lot of rare spiritual fruits for Perfected Du to taste. After eating for a while, Perfected Shuiyu smiled and said, I wonder why fellow Taoist gave up your immortal-like life and came to my Sky Patrol City? If you need me, please tell me. Chapter 2749. This was the second time that Perfected Shuiyu mentioned this matter, so Perfected Du had to say it again. He put down his wine cup and smiled bitterly at Perfected Shuiyu. This time, I'm here on my master's orders to do something. Of course, don't ask me what it is. Actually, even I'm confused about this. Perfected Shuiyu was stunned when he heard Perfected Du's bitter smile. As a cultivator in the late stage of the spirit-severing stage, what couldn't he do on the Dawn Rain continent? Judging from Perfected Du's tone, this matter seemed to be very tricky. What can I do? Perfected Shuiyu asked again. However, Perfected Dui did not answer directly. Instead, he said slowly, Actually, I've been to Sky Patrol City a few years ago. How come I don't know? Perfected Shuiyu was even more stunned, but then he was even more confused about what Perfected Dui wanted to do. I didn't enter the city. I asked Li Chengxiu to go out and meet me. Perfected Dui explained. Perfected Shuiyu nodded slightly. Although he did not frown, he was already muttering in his heart. According to Perfected Dui, this matter must be related to the secret of Xianxia sect. Previously, Perfected Dui did not come to Sky Patrol City to look for him, but Li Chengxiu had died, so he had to look for him. It seemed that this matter was very tricky. What is it? Perfected Shuiyu pondered. Why would a senior who is close to the Void Refinement Realm make such an arrangement? Oh, I know. Feng Lengbai understood why Perfected Dui asked him and Jean Kang to stay here. He looked at perfected Shuiyu and hurriedly said respectfully, "During the battle, fellow Taoist Li Chengxiu went out of the city for a few days. He was not on duty in the meeting hall. He must have gone to visit you." Sky Patrol City naturally knew the whereabouts of the Golden Core cultivators on duty in the meeting hall and would naturally record it. These were the secrets of Sky Patrol City. If it was someone else, Fong Lengbai could only shake his head, and Perfected Shuiyu would not admit it. However, Perfected Shuiyu was not worried about Perfected Dui. "Yes, that's right." Perfected Dui did not avoid it. He said with some thoughts, "I summoned Li Chengxiu. There are some things for him to do. But Li Chengxiu has already fallen. He didn't even participate in the final battle." Shuiyu Zhenren began to understand. "Yeah." Perfected Dui nodded. "I gave him a communication talisman. He also has the spirit talisman given to him by the sect leader. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have died so early. Therefore, I feel that his death is related to what I asked him to do." Hiss. Shuiyu Zhenren was shocked again. He already knew what the conference hall's conclusion was about Li Chengxiu's death. But now that Dewey said it, he had a feeling that Dewey was right. How could Li Chengxiu, who was on duty in the conference hall, die so easily outside of a big battle? Since the culprit who killed Li Chengxiu was not afraid of a nascent soul cultivator's talisman, then this person must be at least an early nascent soul cultivator. Shuiyu Zhenren thought that there was another mysterious nascent soul cultivator near his Sky Patrol City, but he knew nothing about it. Shuiyu Zhenren's scalp went numb. "Lang Bi, tell Perfected Do everything about Li Chengxiu. Don't leave out anything," Shuiyu Zhenren ordered without hesitation. "Yes, I understand." Fong Lang Bi hurriedly took half a step forward. After thinking for a while, he told Shuiyu Zhenren about Li Chengxiu. He even told Shuiyu Zhenren about Li Chengxiu in the auction. "Spirit beast?" Perfected Dewey frowned and looked at Shuiyu Zhenren. Shuiyu Zhenren was slightly embarrassed. He smiled and said, "I know about this. That spirit beast was on the verge of death and had no value. If someone had a secret technique, they might be able to benefit from it. I didn't know anything about it, so I didn't care about it. Later, I heard that Li Chengxiu made a big fuss about it, which surprised me. The one who fought against him must be another golden core cultivator in the conference hall. This matter involved two sects, so I didn't investigate further. What about the place where Li Chengxiu died? Where is it?" Perfected Dewey thought for a while and asked. Fong Lang Bi looked at Shuiyu Zhenren and took out 2 jade slips. After writing something on one of them, he respectfully handed it to Perfected Dewey and said, "This is fellow cultivator Li's record. Please forgive me for the rest." "No problem." Perfected Dewey was overjoyed. He waved his hand and the jade slip fell into his hand. Naturally, he wouldn't interfere with the internal affairs of Shuiyu Zhenren and look at the secrets of other sects. When Perfected Dewey scanned it with his divine sense, the entire hall was silent. Perfected Shuiyu Zhenren looked at Perfected Dewey, who was getting more and more serious. He didn't know what was in his Shuiyu Zhenren that was worthy of a late-stage spirit-severing cultivator's covetous eyes. After the spirit beast incident, did Xianxia sect send any foundation establishment cultivators out of the city? Or did Li Chengxiu send any disciples out of the city? Perfected Dewey asked. This. Fong Lang Bi was a little embarrassed. Our Shuiyu Zhenren only records the names of cultivators who use the teleportation array. As for those who enter the city through the city gate, it only records the names of the disciples who enter the city, but not those who leave. Only disciples above the Golden Core realm have it. How many disciples from various sects entered the city through the city gate? Not many. Fong Lang Bi looked at Jin Kang, who hurriedly answered. See if there are any disciples from Xianxia sect. Perfected Dewey was a little impatient. Yes, I'll check right away. Jin Kang hurriedly walked out of the hall. Fellow cultivator, there are too many cultivators entering and exiting the Shuiyu Zhenren. Some use the teleportation array, some use the city gate. Jin Kang and the others might not remember. Perfected Shuiyu Zhenren smiled and raised his wine cup. Come, since our Shuiyu Zhenren can help, there must be results. Fellow cultivator, let's drink. Hee, okay, thank you. Perfected Dewey smiled and raised his cup, but there was still a trace of confusion in his eyes. Perfected Dewey was confused, But Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren was even more confused. He really couldn't guess what Perfected Dewey was looking for. Not long after, Jin Kung returned. He held a storage pouch in one hand and a jade slip in the other. His face was full of joy as he reported, "Good news, Senior. Sometime after the auction, there were indeed more than 10 Immortal Music Sect disciples who used the transmission array and entered the city through the city gate." "Well, let me see." Perfected Dewey raised his eyebrows and took the jade slip. After looking at it roughly, he raised his head and asked, "These disciples, are they still here?" I'm afraid they won't be here." Jin Kung smiled bitterly. "These are all Foundation establishment disciples. Not to mention that some of them had already evacuated in the middle of the previous war. In the final battle of the Sword Tomb, most of the Foundation establishment disciples of Xianxia sect died, and there were only a few left." Jin Kang. Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren was unhappy and frowned. "Quickly go and find those Xianxia sect disciples on this jade slip. Whether they are alive or dead, or return to Xianxia sect, you must give a clear answer." "Yes, disciple knows." Jin Kung smiled bitterly. In fact, with Perfected Dewey's identity, as long as he sent a message, Perfected Blue Feather would definitely do this matter well. However, it seemed that Perfected Dewey had some misgivings and was unwilling to let the Xianxia sect disciples know about this matter. However, if he let the Sentry City do this, it seemed that he had crossed the line. However, Jin Kang did not dare to neglect and still walked quickly. Perfected Dewey and Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren chatted for a while, but Jin Kang did not return. Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren knew that there was some trouble inside, and there might not be any good results. Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren thought for a moment and whispered, "Taoist brother, I don't want to know too much about this matter. However, if you can point me in a direction, such as looking for someone, or looking for something, or if it's about something, I'll know which direction to help you from." Perfected Dewey hesitated for a moment, thought for a moment, and said, "I'm looking for someone." "Is it a cultivator in the war?" Perfected Dewey shook his head slightly. "Is it a swordsman?" Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren was stunned. "Alas, I don't know either." Perfected Dewey sighed. "Haha, as the saying goes, birds leave their sound and people leave their names. As long as it's a war, there will be traces." Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren laughed. "It's not necessarily a war." Perfected Dewey smiled bitterly. "That's troublesome." Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren shook his head. However, Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren really wanted to help Perfected Dewey. After thinking for a while, he raised his head and said to Fong Langbi, "Langbi, make a copy of all the jade slips about the war that my Sentry City has collected in the past 10 years and give them to Perfected Dewey." "Yes, I understand." Fong Langbi hurriedly turned around. "This is not appropriate," Perfected Dewey hurriedly said. "I'm disturbing your Sentry City for no reason." "Not at all. These are all war situations. Even sword cultivators know about it. It's not a secret." Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren laughed. "Moreover, there are many sword cultivators of Huan country in it, which may be useful to you. Besides, what secrets does my Sky Patrol City have in front of you?" "Well, thank you very much." Perfected Dewey knew that it was impossible for him to search in the dark. Since there were some things for reference, why not? "You're welcome. I'm very happy to be able to do something for you and Senior Chan." Perfected Shui Yu Zhenren hurriedly said humbly. "Well, if this is successful, I owe you a favor. If you need anything, especially if it's about cultivation or breakthrough, you can look for me. If I can't do it, there's still Master." Perfected Dewey pondered for a while and said in a low voice. Chapter 2750. "Ha ha ha, if that day really comes, even if there is no such favor, I will ask for your help." Shui Yu was overjoyed when he heard this. He knew that this favor could even be counted as a late-stage spirit-severing stage senior. How could he not understand what it meant? He hurriedly replied with a smile. Immortal Dewey smiled slightly and didn't say much. Shui Yu's words were very intimate, and he couldn't refute it. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Fong Lengbai came back with a few jade slips in his hand. He respectfully handed them to Shui Yu, but Shui Yu didn't take them. Instead, he waved his hand and asked Fong Lengbai to give them to Immortal Dewey. Immortal De looked at Fong Lengbai, but his eyes swept to the door of the main hall. Obviously, he was waiting for news from Jin Kang. However, it had been so long, and Jianghu hadn't come back. Obviously, there wouldn't be any good news from Xianxia sect. Alas, Immortal Dewey sighed slightly. He picked up the jade slips and looked through them. Then, he immersed his divine sense in them and carefully checked them. The jade slip was indeed full of battle reports. There was information on the layout of the battlefield, reconnaissance, and the sorting of the information during the battle. It involved the movements of the disciples of various sects and sword xiao. It was very complete and also very complicated. However, Immortal Dewey looked very carefully. He knew that if the person his master asked him to find was in this battle, then there would definitely be some clues. At the moment when Immortal Dewey was about to check the jade slips, there were hurried footsteps outside the main hall. Immortal Dewey raised his eyebrows and barely suppressed the urge to release his divine sense. He looked up at the door of the hall. Shui Yu's face showed a trace of confusion. Sure enough, it was Jianghu who came in. Moreover, there was a young Qi refinement disciple behind Jianghu. Judging from his clothes, he was a disciple of Xianxia sect. Junior Zhou Yongchong of Xianxia sect greets Senior Shui Yu. The disciple of Xianxia sect followed Jianghu into the hall. He first bowed to Shui Yu, then to Immortal Dewey and Fang Lengbai. Obviously, this disciple didn't know Immortal Dewey's identity. Well, Zhou Yongchong, get up. Shui Yu looked at Immortal Dewey, who was also confused, and waved his hand. Jianghu, why were you gone for so long? What's the matter with Zhou Yongchong? Okay, I'll let the city lord and Senior Dewey know. Jianghu bowed and was about to answer. Zhou Yongchong, who was beside him, was shocked. He looked at Zhenren Dewey with his eyes wide open and hurriedly bowed. I have eyes but fail to see. I actually didn't recognize the senior. That's right. Immortal Dewey was a nascent soul-stage senior of the Xianxia sect. He was the existence that Zhou Yongchong and the others worshipped. Now, he was right in front of him, but he went to pay a visit to the Immortal of the Shui region. He actually left his own master to the side. It's all right. I don't want to show my true face in front of the younger generation. It's normal that you don't know. Immortal Dewey waved his hand and blocked Zhou Yongchong's figure. Jianghu, who was at the side, respectfully said, "This subordinate has asked an old friend of Immortal Music Sect to help investigate. Previously, those more than 10 disciples of Immortal Music Sect have all fallen. Not one of them survived." Although Jianghu didn't say that he spent a lot of effort, but thinking that Immortal Blue Feather of Immortal Music Sect had already entered the station of Immortal Music Sect, how difficult would it be for the Sky Patrol City to find more than 10 disciples of Immortal Music Sect a few years ago? Immortal Dewey nodded slightly. Then Jianghu pointed to Zhou Yongchong and said, "Nephew Zhou is Li Chengxiu's nephew. He has been staying in the station of Immortal Music Sect in my Sky Patrol City. He is also a meritorious person in this war and is preparing to return to Immortal Music Sect. This subordinate knows that he has some understanding of Li Chengxiu's whereabouts, so I invited him to come over and meet Senior Dewey." And Immortal Dewey nodded even more after hearing this. He looked at Jianghu approvingly, then turned to Zhou Yongchong and said, "This old man knows that Li Chengxiu fell for no reason. I feel that there is something strange about it, so I want to investigate the truth of his fall in private. You tell me all the people and things that he came into contact with in Sky Patrol City, no matter how big or small." "Yes, this junior understands," Zhou Yongchong answered very respectfully. Just as he was about to speak, Immortal Shui Yu hurriedly said, "Brother, please wait a moment. Let us leave first." Immortal Dewey thought for a moment and nodded apologetically. "Thank you for your understanding, junior brother." Immortal Shui Yu smiled slightly and left with Jianghu and Fang Leng. Immortal Dewey looked around and found that there was no third person in the main hall. He released his divine thought and found no other Dharma power fluctuations. However, Immortal Dewey still waved his hand and cast a mute spell before asking. He saw Zhou Yongchong standing there respectfully. He seemed to be talking non-stop. He talked for the time it took to finish a meal. However, Immortal Dewey's face did not seem to be abnormal. He just listened quietly. When Zhou Yongchong finished, he raised his hand and removed the mute enchantment. He clapped his hand and took out a jade slip and handed it to Zhou Yongchong, saying, "Take this to Di Haicheng. He will naturally know what to do." Yes, this junior thanks senior. When Zhou Yongchong heard that this thing was for his master, he immediately understood that it was an opportunity for him. He took the jade slip happily. Then he asked, if my master asks, or if someone else asks. Well, you don't have to worry about it. Just say what you want to say. Immortal Dewey said lightly. Yes, this junior understands. Hearing Immortal Dewey's words, Zhou Yongchang was slightly disappointed that he did not need to make an oath. He knew that what he said was not what Immortal Dewey wanted. Go, I am afraid that the flying boat in the sect will set off in a few days. You have also made contributions to our immortal music sect in Sky Patrol City. Although you did not break through in Sky Patrol City, I hope that you will cultivate well after returning to the sect. Immortal Dewey instructed. Zhou Yongchang hurriedly bowed. This junior will not disappoint senior. I will cultivate hard. Then, Zhou Yongchang bowed again and slowly left the main hall. After Zhou Yongchang left the main hall, Immortal Shuiyu walked in. Jin Kang and Feng Lung did not follow behind him. Brother, how was it? Immortal Shuiyu asked with a smile. Alas, Immortal Dewey sighed and replied. It was difficult. Hee, if it was not difficult, why would Senior Chan send you here? Immortal Shuiyu said with a smile. Besides, there is nothing difficult in this world. As long as you search with your heart, there will definitely be clues. I hope so. Immortal Dewey took out another jade slip and said casually. It seems that I am going to see Li Chengxiu's death. This is... What? Immortal Shuiyu was surprised when he saw the surprise on Immortal Dewey's face. He asked almost casually. However, he also understood that Immortal Dewey would never answer him. Sure enough, Immortal Dewey raised his eyebrows and immersed his spiritual sense into the jade slip in his hand. After reading it for a moment, he changed another jade slip. After reading it for a moment, he changed the jade slip again. Immortal Dewey's eyebrows became more relaxed. After a while, Immortal Dewey clapped his hands and put all the jade slips into his storage bag. He closed his eyes, as if he was thinking about something. Immortal Shuiyu did not dare to disturb him and only stood quietly by the side. Junior brother. Immortal Dewey suddenly opened his eyes and spoke, but he seemed to be hesitant. Immortal Shuiyu said with a smile, Do you want Jinking or Fonglang not to come? Forget it, no need. Immortal Dewey thought for a moment, then stood up and said, I have some clues. Although I am not sure, I have to go and take a look. I don't need to trouble Sky Patrol City. Okay. Immortal Shuiyu knew that Immortal Dewey did not want him to know what was going to happen next, so he did not ask further. Are you going now? Yes, that's right. I'll go now. According to my master. The sooner this matter is done, the better. If there is a delay, there will be a mistake. I dare not slack off. Immortal Dewey said apologetically. Okay, then I will not keep you. I will send you out now. Immortal Shuiyu nodded and said. However, Immortal Dewey waved his hand and said, Junior brother, you don't have to be so polite. The fewer people know about this, the better. I did not inform Lon Yu and the others before coming to Sky Patrol City because of this. Junior brother, you can wait in the city governor's mansion. Okay. Immortal Shuiyu knew that Immortal Dewey was right, so he could only nod. Immortal Dewey was really anxious. He casually cupped his hands and quickly walked out of the main hall. Immortal Shuiyu followed Immortal Dewey out of the main hall. When he saw Immortal Dewey's back disappear into the mansion, he frowned and whispered, This person actually offended Senior Chan and provoked Immortal Dewey to come out personally. Who is this person? Could it be that Li Chengxiu was not killed by a sword cultivator? If this person... Damn it, what is this person doing? Immortal Shuiyu was not the only one who was puzzled. Immortal Dewey quietly left the city governor's mansion. He looked around and scanned the area with his divine sense. When he did not find anything strange, he immediately turned around. However, he did not go out of Sky Patrol City. Instead, he went in the other direction of the city governor's mansion. It seemed to be the encampment of the Imperial Thunder Sect or the Xianxia sect. After Reverend Dewey had gone far away, a skinny figure flashed and appeared in the distance of the city governor's mansion. He looked at the majestic city governor's mansion, and then looked at the place where Reverend Dewey had disappeared. A hint of shock flashed across his fair face. This guy. Why did he come to Sky Patrol City? Could it be that person is in Sky Patrol City? Or that person also participated in the great battle of Dao cultivators? But that's not right. I heard Master say. Forget it. I will just follow Dewey and see if he is like I, looking for a young disciple whose cultivation is far superior to ordinary cultivators. If such a genius disciple is in the great battle of Dao cultivators, he will definitely be extremely dazzling like a comet across the sky. Of course, if Dewey is really different from what I am looking for, then I will have to put in some effort. Chapter 2751. Reverend Dewey and the mysterious cultivator might or might not be looking for Xiao Hua. However, the four of them who rose like comets in the Great War of Dao and Sword were not in Sky Patrol City. Instead, they were flying together above the sword mound. However, among the four of them, except for Li Zongbao, who still looked indifferent with his hands behind his back, the other three had different expressions on their faces before they flew away. Fairy Xianxia did not need to say anything. She looked ahead with a complicated expression, as if the future was bumpy and vague, making her feel powerless. At the same time, there seemed to be a ray of light in front of her, as if the path to heaven was under the light, giving her a sense of hope. She looked at Xiao Mao, who seemed to be in a trance. Sometimes, there was a ruthless look in his eyes, and sometimes there was sadness in his eyes. It was quite puzzling. As for Xiao Hua, he was smiling bitterly and frowning slightly. No one knew what he was thinking about. Darling Xiao. Fairy Xianxia accompanied Xiao Hua. When she looked back occasionally, she was stunned when she saw Xiao Hua's expression. She smiled and said, "What are you thinking about? Why are you frowning? Could it be that this concubine is bothering you?" "Ha ha." Xiao Hua forced a few laughs and pointed his finger. The sword mound was extremely dangerous before, but now it has become a passageway. The four of us are disciples of Dao's sect who have made great contributions in the Great War of Dao and Sword. Now we are going to pass through the sword mound, pass through Huan country, and head to millions of Meng mountains. If Huan country's Huajian or LV Ruocheng knows about this, won't they send a large number of people to surround us? Haha, that's true. Fairy Xianxia looked at the other three and smiled. That's right, there was no need to mention Li Zongbao, Xiao Hua, and Xiao Mao. Not only were they part of the special task force that attacked Qinjian, but they had also saved many Dao sect disciples during the battle. As for Fairy Xianxia, although she came to Sky Patrol City later, the three of them were already famous among the disciples of various sections. Moreover, Fairy Xianxia did not have any outstanding performance in the subsequent battles. However, in the final battle, Fairy Xiaxia's phoenix celestial body appeared in mid-air amidst the four-square sword formation. Her oppressive connate primordial water saved many golden core cultivators in the conference hall. She even sacrificed herself to break the five-element sword formation, saving tens of thousands of Dao sect disciples. If not for Fairy Xia's battle exploits, none of the Dao sect disciples would have been able to hold on until the spirit-devouring array was activated. Furthermore, they would not have been able to hold on until Wu Ming, the nascent soul senior, arrived. Therefore, the name of Fairy Xianxia instantly spread among the various sections. Furthermore, Fairy Xianxia was a female cultivator and was even more beautiful than a celestial being. Many golden core cultivators in the conference hall also deliberately spread the news. Fairy Xia's fame quickly caught up to Li Zongbao in a short period of time. She was even ranked in front of Xiao Mao and Xiao Hua. The most laughable thing was that the real nameless, Xiao Hua, was actually ranked last. Not only was his reputation not as high as nameless, he was even inferior to Xiao Mao. Of course, even so, Xiao Hua, who was originally a nobody, had risen like a comet in the battle of swordsmanship, which had already attracted some people's attention. Xiao Hua did not want to reveal his superhuman strength for fear of attracting excessive attention from others and exposing the unspeakable secrets of his Buddhist sect. However, he was after all a show-off and inevitably stood out. Even though he had hidden his figure behind the radiance of Li Zongbao and the others, he could still vaguely make out his back in those moments when he was not paying attention. Fortunately, perhaps because he was overwhelmed by the brilliance of Wu Ming from the Imperial Thunder Sect, or because others felt that it was inappropriate for two meritorious disciples to appear in the Imperial Thunder Sect at once, when Xiao Hua flew to the left side of the Sky Patrol City, he was not recognized by the patrolling disciples of the various sections. Due to the suggestion of Sun Yunzi from the Xianghua sect, the meeting hall had to be removed from the Sky Patrol City. Although Immortal Shuiyu did not have any objections, the defense of the Sky Patrol City had already begun to shrink. The patrolling area of the disciples of the Sky Patrol City was limited to within 10 miles of the Sky Patrol City. The other areas, within 100 miles, were all patrolled by the disciples of the other sections. Therefore, although Xiao Hua did not know that he had been discovered by Immortal Shuiyu and had even been listed as a must-kill target by Immortal Shuiyu, the patrolling disciples of the Sky Patrol City had also received the order to immediately report once they found traces of Xiao Hua. However, when he flew within 100 miles of the Sky Patrol City, he did not encounter any disciples of the Sky Patrol City. Before Xiao Hua sent out a message talisman to look for Fairy Xianxia, he naturally also looked for Han Zhu of the Kunlun sect. He did not dare to delay the matter of Zhang Luer. He would rather not go to the Million Mountains to wake Zhang Luer up first. However, Han Zhu's meeting with Xiao Hua was both outside of Xiao Hua's expectations and also within Xiao Hua's expectations. Xiao Hua couldn't help but smile wryly with a hint of worry on his face. On that day, when Xiao Hua came to the left of the Sky Patrol City, he released his Buddhist sense to look at the patrolling disciples of the Xianghua sect in the distance. He frowned and thought, perhaps I should go into seclusion for a long time after the war. Yes, although Xiao Hua had stepped into the Gold Core realm, his meridians were congenitally deficient in the Foundation Establishment realm. Now, he could barely make up for and balance the meridians of the Qi refining realm. However, according to the Great Tao Zhen Qing Jade Slip, his Gold Core realm had not been stable. During this period of time, although Xiao Hua did not participate in the war again, he did not have the time to meditate. Forget it, let's wake Zhang Luer up first. Xiao Hua landed on the ground and was about to use his concealment technique. However, when he saw the disciples of the Xianghua sect in the distance, he pondered for a moment before changing into a Taoist robe and changing his appearance. Soon after, Xiao Hua flew up into the air and flew towards the patrolling disciples at a moderate speed. Where did this disciple come from? Xiao Hua had just flown for a while when he was discovered by the patrolling disciples of the Xianghua sect. A few of them immediately flew over. I am Feng Yi, a disciple of the Huanhua sect. Xiao Hua's face was as calm as water. He stood calmly in the air and quietly watched a disciple of the early-stage Foundation Establishment realm flying over with a few disciples of the Qi refining realm. Oh, so you are also a disciple of the country of Xi. The short and fat disciple of the early-stage Foundation Establishment realm heard Xiao Hua's voice and replied with a smile on his face. Xiao Hua was actually a little puzzled. The left side of the Sky Patrol City had always been patrolled by the disciples of the Sky Patrol City. When did it become a disciple of the Xianghua sect? How did the Sky Patrol City agree? However, he did not ask. Instead, he clapped his hands and took out a token. He smiled and said, I am here on the orders of my master to pass the message to the Sky Patrol City. Senior brother, please make an exception. The disciple of the Xianghua sect waved his hand and the token fell into his hand. He glanced at it and returned it to Xiao Hua with a smile. Junior brother Feng, you came to the Sky Patrol City. Why didn't you use the teleportation formation? Now that the Great War of Daowen's sword is going on, there are many sword cultivators here. If you encounter one or two of them, I am afraid you will be in trouble. Xiao Hua took the token and said with a smile, doesn't the teleportation formation of the Sky Patrol City cost spirit stones? I wanted to take these spirit stones to the Sky Patrol City's EG to see if there are any good flying swords. Moreover, now is the time for the two armies to rest. My Dao Sect's cultivators are tired, but aren't those swordsmen tired? You may not encounter them. Haha, I didn't expect Junior Brother Feng to be a cultivator who knows how to live. It's really rare. The disciple smiled and cupped his hands. Junior Brother Feng, please. Thank you, Senior Brother. Xiao Hua did not mind that the disciple did not mention his name. He bowed and thanked him before flying away. Junior Brother Feng. The disciple thought for a moment and said, although my Dao Sect's nascent soul realm masters have arrived at the Sky Patrol City, the war has already begun. Junior brother, when you go back, don't be stingy. It's better to use the teleportation formation. Okay, I understand. Xiao Hua replied with a smile. Of course, he asked casually. By the way, judging from Senior Brother's attire, you should be a disciple of Xianghua sect. Why are you patrolling outside the Sky Patrol City? Where are the Sky Patrol City's disciples? Haha, previously, the Sky Patrol City's disciples were patrolling within 100 miles. The disciple explained with a smile, but 10 days ago, they suddenly reduced the scope of their patrol and only patrolled within 10 miles of the Sky Patrol City. The rest of the area was patrolled by the disciples of other sects in the three kingdoms. This humble Taoist was also assigned to this place today, and coincidentally bumped into junior brother Feng. Oh, I see. Xiaohua suddenly understood. He rolled his eyes and asked in a low voice, "Is the Sky Patrol City doing this because they have lost too many disciples? Or are they compromising with the sects in the three kingdoms? Patrolling the Sky Patrol City is their own business." "Aha," the disciple coughed twice and said with a smile. "It seems that junior brother Feng is not only a person who knows how to live, but also a cultivator with a strong curiosity. Unfortunately, I don't know the reason for this. If junior brother Feng is interested, why don't you go to the Huanhua sect's encampment and send me a message? Actually, I'm also very curious." He. Xiaohua's face showed traces of laughter. He cupped his hands and flew away without saying anything. The disciple of Xianghua sect naturally did not care about Xiaohua's question and continued to patrol other places. However, Xiaohua frowned. Strange, the Sky Patrol City actually reduced the scope of their patrol? There must be something strange about this. Forget it, what does this have to do with me? I will never enter the Sky Patrol City before I reach the advanced nascent soul stage. It had to be said that Xiaohua, who had undergone the baptism of battle, had the ability to find problems from the details. Xiaohua remembered what the disciple of Xianghua sect said. He flew for dozens of miles and stopped. He clapped his hands and took out the small golden Buddha that Hanzhu gave him. Although it was not suitable to take it out in front of Zhang Qingxiao, Xiaohua had already checked it with his divine thought before he came. In addition to the divine thought imprisonment, there was a strange golden swan inscription. Chapter 2752. The divine sense restriction could only be broken after reaching the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Moreover, there was an extremely powerful offensive restriction within the restriction. Just as Hanzhu had said, Xiaohua had to wait until he reached the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm, preferably the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, before he could explore the reason for the small golden Buddha. If Xiaohua had rashly used his divine sense to check it back then, his divine sense would have been damaged first. As for the golden Buddha, after Xiaohua had comprehended it during this period of time, he found that it was actually an extremely simple Buddhist magical power. This magical power was similar to the Taoist sect's 1,000-mile sound transmission, but it used the unique mind power of the Buddhist sect. After Xiaohua comprehended this Buddhist magical power, he had more expectations for the mysterious Buddhist sect. After all, a cultivation path that could compete with the Taoist sect would have all kinds of strange and brilliant magical powers, right? After Xiaohua sent out this sound transmission, he returned to his normal appearance and waited in the distance. During this period, although many divine senses swept over and some patrolling disciples passed by, how could they find Xiaohua's trace when he was deliberately hiding? After half a day, seeing that it was already late and Hanzhu had not appeared, Xiaohua was a little surprised and thought, could it be that Hanzhu is not in Sky Patrol City? If he left Sky Patrol City temporarily, it would be easy, but if he did not come to Sky Patrol City at all, then it would be terrible. I still have to go to Lian country. Damn it. Could it be that Heavenly Demon Sect's information is wrong? Xiaohua was slightly impatient. If it was his own matter, he might not be like this, but it involved Zhang Luer and Xiao Xianrui. In just half a day, he had lost his sense of propriety. Fortunately, after waiting for another hour, the sky was already completely dark. Only then did a Buddha's consciousness sweep over from afar. Good, Xiaohua was overjoyed and hurriedly flew up from the ground to greet him. When Xiaohua saw Hanzhu flying over, his head full of white hair and the golden crown on his head could be seen clearly in the night, he was not only happy in his heart, but also smiled and bowed. Junior Xiaohua greets Martial Uncle Hanzhu. Humph, brat. You almost ruined my plan. Who would have thought that Xiaohua's respect would be reprimanded by Hanzhu's cold face? Hanzhu's thick eyebrows were slightly raised, and the coldness on his face was even colder than the ice lake in the Gale snowfield. Xiaohua was shocked and looked at Hanzhu in panic. Come with me. Hanzhu released his Buddhist awareness, looked around, and flew in a certain direction. Xiaohua didn't dare to reveal his Buddhist consciousness in front of Hanzhu. He only followed closely behind Hanzhu, appearing very careful. Frost Bamboo had clearly used his Buddhist perception to search for gaps in the disciples on duty. He flew in an erratic direction, sometimes left and sometimes right, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. After flying for more than an hour, he soared into the sky and flew towards the east. Seeing that Frost Bamboo didn't care about him, Xiaohua was somewhat astonished. When he saw that Frost Bamboo was actually flying extremely fast, far faster than a foundation establishment cultivator could catch up to, Xiaohua knew that Frost Bamboo was angry. But when he thought about it, he didn't seem to have done anything wrong. This is bad. Thinking of his mistake, Xiaohua suddenly understood. A wry smile appeared on his face, and he only used ordinary flying techniques to fly in the direction that Hanzhu disappeared. Here! Xiaohua flew for more than 100 miles when Hanzhu's cold voice sounded in his ears. Yes! Xiaohua knew that he was wrong, but he didn't dare to say more. He flew in the direction of the voice again. During this time, Hanzhu actually changed direction many times. After circling around for about an hour, he finally stopped at a depression in the mountain peak. Just as Xiaohua landed on the ground, Hanzhu stretched out his hand and waved the golden embroidered formation flag. A brilliance flashed from the left, blocking the two figures. Only the whistling cold wind blew from the depression in the mountain. Senior, Xiaohua very respectfully bowed in greeting. Shoo! Unfortunately, Hanzhu's face was cold again, indicating for Xiaohua to be quiet. He sat down cross-legged, ignoring Xiaohua. Sigh! Xiaohua sighed and also sat across from Hanzhu. After another hour, Hanzhu opened his eyes and coldly said, Xiaohua, you almost killed me. Do you know? Yes, this junior already communicated with you on the way here. Xiaohua hastily stood up and respectfully said. This matter was indeed his fault. He couldn't not admit it. Humph. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you are a person of merit in the Great War of Dao Sword. Don't think that you are a famous cultivator in the cultivation world now that you can be so careless, so carefree and so careless. Hanzhu coldly said. In the eyes of us golden core cultivators, your merit is nothing but a joke. Although you killed Qin Jian, that was Li Zongbao's greatest merit. Although you already have a reputation, you are still behind Li Zongbao. Moreover, you have a Buddhist cultivation technique. If you are so ostentatious, it will be very easy for the Dao sect cultivators to discover you. Once you are discovered, you will definitely die. And if your cultivation is exposed, this old man will also be implicated by you. This junior was wrong. This junior won't dare to do it again. Xiaohua knew that Hanzhu was right. Hanzhu was also worried about his safety. If there was a problem with him, he would indeed implicate Hanzhu. This old man has already told you. Hanzhu lectured Xiaohua again. This Buddhist cultivation technique cannot be detected by those below the golden core stage. However, for nascent soul cultivators, their nascent souls are already able to communicate with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and merge with it. As long as there are any strange movements nearby, they will be able to detect it. I have repeatedly warned you not to use Buddhist awareness in front of nascent soul cultivators. You are really good. Now, there are no less than 20 nascent soul cultivators in Sky Patrol City. You actually used mind reading outside Sky Patrol City. Damn it, this old man was beside my Kunlun sect's Xianxia at that time. Your Buddhist cultivation technique immediately attracted his attention. Do you know? Xianxia is a nascent soul cultivator who kills people like flies. If he discovered that this old man is a Buddhist cultivator, would this old man still be alive? Yes, this junior. My thoughts were not good. I was really muddle-headed at that time. What else could Xiaohua say? He could only reply apologetically. Now that you are already a meritorious figure in the Great Dao Cultivator War, it is not impossible for you to openly come to my Kunlun sect to visit I. Hanzhu said somewhat resentfully, Even if you sent a communication talisman, it is still good. There is no reason for you to mysteriously hide outside Sky Patrol City and send this old man some mind reading. Sigh, this junior was wrong. Xiaohua could not explain anything and could only lower his head to listen to Hanzhu's reprimand. Hanzhu scolded for a moment before his anger subsided. At that time it was indeed very dangerous. Hanzhu also felt a lingering fear when he thought about it now. He delayed leaving the city for half a day and was so cautious when he saw Xiaohua. But your cultivation has really exceeded this old man's expectations. Hanzhu sighed and looked at Xiaohua. Not only have your cultivation reached the middle stage of foundation establishment, you can even use mind reading. You have indeed worked hard all these years. You are indeed worthy of being the first Buddhist cultivator that this old man has seen in 100 years. Compared to you, the others are far inferior. The others? Xiaohua was slightly stunned, but he did not ask further. Release your Buddhist consciousness and let this old man have a look, Hanju said impolitely. Yes, Xiaohua endured for a moment and released his Buddhist consciousness. Hanju also released his Buddhist consciousness and said with some surprise, Why is your Buddhist consciousness becoming more and more indifferent? This old man thought that your Buddhist consciousness would have some progress. This junior actually did not cultivate much, Xiaohua said with a smile. Even the great strength Vajra Dharma body, this junior did not cultivate it. And this old man naturally knows that the great strength Vajra Dharma body is not something that can be cultivated overnight. It requires great perseverance and great patience to succeed. Hanju waved his hand and said, But your Buddhist consciousness. Sigh, this old man was originally a little surprised, it seems. Obviously, Hanju was a little disappointed. He stretched out his hand and said, Where is your Buddhist cultivation technique? Let this old man have a look. If it was the first time they met, Hanju would have taken out Xiaohua's Buddhist sect cultivation method. Xiaohua really wouldn't have dared to take it. But at this time, he generously clapped his hands and took out the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra and handed it to Hanju. Hanju released his Buddhist consciousness and only took a rough look before returning it to Xiaohua. He said with some disdain, The level of this Heart Sutra is too low. I am afraid you will have to change it. But this old man is not prepared enough. Actually, this junior came here to find senior because there is another matter that I need to ask senior. Xiaohua knew that Hanju was thinking about going to the Buddhist ruins again, so he hurriedly said the Heart Sutra. Oh, what is it? This old man thought you wanted to go to the Buddhist ruins, Hanju said curiously. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and took out a spirit storage bag. This action made Hanju very surprised. However, when Xiaohua actually took out Jianghu from the spirit storage bag, Hanju's eyes widened. His broom-like eyes trembled violently, and he almost laughed out loud. But when he saw Jianghu's situation clearly, an extreme shock appeared in his eyes. But then, he narrowed his eyes and suppressed the shock. He looked at Xiaohua and said, This little guy is your blood relative? He also practiced your Heart Sutra? I will let senior know. Xiaohua saw Hanju's shock and was overjoyed. He knew that Hanju was indeed an expert of the Buddhist sect and knew about Jianghu's situation. He hurriedly said, Although he is not my blood relative, he is still someone very close to me. Because he is already old, this junior let him come in contact with my Buddhist sect's Heart Sutra. Hanju nodded slightly and asked, How long did he practice before he entered the heart-extinguishing realm? Heart-extinguishing realm? Xiaohua was slightly stunned. His mind spun quickly, looking for this realm in the exquisite Leaf Sutra. Unfortunately, Xiaohua seemed to have never heard of this realm. He only practiced for a few months. Xiaohua hesitated and said carelessly. Chapter 2753. What? Only a few months? Hanju almost cried out in surprise. He didn't have the bearing of a golden core cultivator, and there was even a hint of jealousy in his eyes. Yes, that's right, Xiaohua said with a smile. This child has entered this heart-extinguishing realm without fasting. I'm afraid something will happen to him. I can't wake him up, so I hope senior can be merciful and wake him up. His mother is very worried. Ha ha ha, Hanju laughed and pointed at Jianghu, saying, There's a saying in the secular world, you don't know how lucky you are. This heart-extinguishing realm, I have been begging for hundreds of years, but I couldn't get it. This child has just started practicing the Heart Sutra, and he can enter such a difficult realm. That's simply an unparalleled fortune. You actually want to wake him up. You're simply harming this child. But he's already so thin, his vitality is drifting. If we don't wake him up, wouldn't we be harming him? Xiaohua said happily. Sigh, the so-called heart annihilation stage is similar to my Tao Sect's void stage. All thoughts, auras, and even life will be annihilated. Only in this annihilation can one find one's true self. Moreover, the longer one stays in the heart-extinguishing realm, the more beneficial it is to Buddhism's cultivation. In fact, He might even be able to cultivate to the legendary realm of the Buddhist sect's supreme Buddha. Tell me, do you still want to wake him up? Hanju sighed. If that's the case, I naturally won't wake him up. Xiaohua laughed. But then he frowned, saying, but he hasn't fasted yet. If it's too long, will it work? Xiaohua, you're confused because you're too concerned. Hanju laughed. How could you forget? How can there be anything in this world that's only beneficial and not harmful? Although the Unsullied realm was extremely crucial to cultivators, but how could ordinary cultivators enter the Unsullied realm as they wished? If one doesn't have enough Tao foundation, as long as one enters it, he won't be able to come out, right? Yes, these disciples all know. Xiaohua was anxious when he heard this. This child has been in the heart-extinguishing realm for long enough. Senior, please be merciful and wake him up. Although it will cause some harm to him, it can at least preserve his life, right? What a pity. Hanju said regretfully, I only know that the Buddhist sect has a method to awaken him, but I don't know what method it is. Senior, you don't know? Who else in this world would know about it? Xiaohua said anxiously. Alas, I'm afraid that the solution can only be found in the ruins of the Buddhist sect. Hanju sighed and shook his head. Senior, shall we head to the Buddhist sect's ruins now? Xiaohua didn't want to go to the Buddhist sect's ruins, but he could only suggest this at this moment. Hanju sneered and said, Nonsense. I've just arrived in Sky Patrol City and haven't fought against a sword cultivator yet. How can I head to the Buddhist sect's ruins? Besides, do you think it's easy to go to the Buddhist sect's ruins? If we don't make sufficient preparations, not only will we not be able to find the mental cultivation method to awaken him, but we will also be trapped inside and consigned to eternal damnation. This, alas. Xiaohua sighed. He knew that Hanju was telling the truth. He could come and go freely in the Great War of Dao Sword because of Li Zongbao's special permission from the conference hall. It could also be said that it was necessary for the war. Now that Hanju had just arrived in Sky Patrol City and was waiting in front of Sha Kongzi, a nascent soul master, how could he leave just like that? When will you be free, senior? Xiaohua said helplessly. What are you asking? How would I know? It's not like you haven't participated in a war before. Hanju said faintly. Then, he clapped his hand and took out a message talisman and handed it to Xiaohua. This is my message talisman. You can send me a message when you enter Sky Patrol City. Where's your message talisman? If I'm free, I'll naturally send you a message. Yes, I understand. Xiaohua lowered his head and took Hanju's message talisman. He also gave his own to Hanju. It's just that. When Hanju accepted Xiaohua's message talisman, he looked at Jianghu with great regret and said, If there are no accidents when I'm free, it should be the end of the Great War of Dao Sword. You better take good care of him and don't let him be in danger. Alas, I'll do my best. Xiaohua could only sigh as he watched Hanju put away the Dharma array. Hanju did not even look at Xiaohua as he flew away. That direction was not the direction of Sky Patrol City. Clearly, Hanju was still afraid that others would see through his tracks. Thinking of the helplessness in his heart when he watched Hanju fly away that day, Xiaohua blamed himself again. Damn it, why did I give Jianghu the Buddhist Heart Sutra that day? Of course, he is capable of practicing, but to stumble into such a state of great fortune. But just as this thought came to his mind, Xiaohua was suddenly stunned and his heart suddenly became clear. I've practiced the hand of cause and effect for many years, why haven't I realized it yet? Since Jianghu can't practice Taoism, he naturally has to find other ways to practice. I have the Heart Sutra of Prajnaparamita, which was sent to him by the heavens through me. And he has just practiced this Heart Sutra and immediately entered the heart-extinguishing state, which is hard to find in a lifetime. Such a great opportunity. Doesn't it indicate that Jianghu really has the hope of becoming a Buddha in the future? Moreover, didn't Hanju say that? As long as Jianghu's vitality is maintained, he will be fine. Since the heavens let Jianghu enter the heart-extinguishing state, they will naturally let him out of it. What's the use of worrying here? And didn't the heavens plant the karma for Jianghu decades ago and want me to enter the Buddhist sect ruins decades later today? Presumably, there must be a way to solve the problem of Jianghu's heart-extinguishing state in the Buddhist sect ruins. Darling Xiao, What are you laughing at? Fairy Xianxia thought that her request made Xiaohua feel awkward, so she had been paying attention to Xiaohua's expression. Seeing Xiaohua smile, she was happy and asked in a low voice. Hee, to be able to accompany you all on a trip to the Han country. This Xiao is extremely happy. Xiaohua naturally would not explain the reason for this matter clearly to Fairy Xianxia and replied with a smile. You are the heaven's favored ones. Fairy Xianxia pursed her lips and smiled. Master Wu's name is now second to none in the Sky Patrol City. Tisk Wu Ming is Wu Ming. How can there be such a person? Xiaohua laughed. On the contrary, Fairy Xia's reputation was previously only in Shi country. Now, not to mention Lian country and Meng country, even the sword cultivators in Huan country have heard of you. Hee, isn't it all thanks to darling Xiao? Fairy Xia reached out and held Xiaohua's arm. If not for darling Xiao's innate primordial water, I would have died in the sword tomb. Impossible. Xiaohua sneered. If any sword cultivator dares to hurt you, I, Xiaohua, will kill my way to the sword cultivators sect and annihilate their entire sect. Fairy Xia was very happy. However, looking at Li Zongbao's lonely back in front, she whispered, I didn't expect that the time that sister went out was not long, and the time that she spent with senior brother Li was also not long? Why is senior brother Li so deeply in love? Sigh, not only was it not long, it was almost very short. Xiaohua was with Wuxia during that period of time, so he naturally understood the reason. He sighed and said, what is love in the world? It is called a life and death commitment. After saying that, Xiaohua transmitted a few more words. Fairy Xia blushed and whispered, although I did not meet you much, and your cultivation at that time was very low, but the things that sister entrusted you with, those precious spirit stones, and that 99th piece of good fate token. To you, every one of them was an opportunity, any one of them could change your life. However, you did not hesitate to give them to me. That kind of spirit, that kind of determination, really opened my heart in an instant. At that time I was still regretting. Who asked sister to meet you first? Since you are not the person in sister's heart, then I will definitely capture you in my hands. Not only in your hands, right? Xiaohua looked at Fairy Xia with a lecherous gaze. Fairy Xia pinched Xiaohua's arm slightly, but her eyes were looking forward. Oh! Fairy Xia was a little surprised and whispered, Xiaohua, look at Xiao Mao. Ever since you sent a message to me outside the city, I have never seen his smiling face. Now that his face is getting darker, you should ask him. Xiaohua had something on his mind, so of course, he did not notice Xiao Mao's abnormality. Now that the knot in his heart was gone, he heard Fairy Xia's words and looked over. Indeed, he saw something wrong with Xiao Mao. He nodded and said, since this child recognizes me as his big brother, then I have no choice but to take care of his matters. He is our brother, you should also take care of him. I naturally know this. During the Battle of the Sword Catacomb, I have already taken care of him. Fairy Xia nodded and replied. Then, Xiaohua flew over. Seeing Xiaohua coming over, Xiao Mao forced a smile and said, Big brother? Since you are calling me big brother, then let me ask you, did something happen again? Hearing this, Xiaohua's face showed a serious expression as he asked. This. Xiao Mao hesitated for a moment, then smiled and said, It's nothing. It's just that I am in a bad mood and attracted Big Brother's attention. Forget it. If you're going to hide things like this, why do you still need to call this Xiao Big Brother? Xiaohua said unhappily. Sigh, Big Brother, if it was something else, why would I be so courteous with you? Xiao Mao sighed and said, On the battlefield, the spiritual stones, skills, weapons and merits were all given by Big Brother, right? When did little brother ever say a word of thanks? Then why are you here today? Xiaohua asked impolitely, treating Xiao Mao as his brother. Xiao Mao pursed his lips, his eyes flashing with a strange light. He nodded fiercely and said, To be honest, Big Brother, I met my enemy again in Sky Patrol City. Chapter 2754. Oh, your enemy? Xiaohua was slightly stunned. He looked at Fairy Xia and then at Li Zongbao. Knowing Xiao Mao's concerns, he nodded and said, In that case, it's fine if you don't say it. If you feel that I have the ability to help you, you can say it. It's better for you to say it now. Li Zongbao said faintly. Now that your state of mind has changed again, if you don't say it, I'm afraid it won't be beneficial to your future cultivation. Although I can't help you in any way, I definitely won't hinder you in any way. This. Xiao Mao was still hesitant. After all, the relationships between the various sects in the Xiaoyu continent were intricate and complicated. This kind of blood feud was the most important thing. If it was leaked, it would be a fatal disaster. Xiao Mao didn't even dare to tell Xiao Hua. How would he dare to tell Li Zongbao and Fairy Xianxia? Actually, in this world, there are still a few trusted friends. If even this trust can't exist in this world, this path of cultivation will become narrower and lonelier the more you walk. Xiao Hua understood Xiao Mao's concerns. Naturally, he also knew that Xiao Mao had kept this secret since young and the burden in his heart was extremely heavy. Xiao Hua himself also had many secrets that he couldn't tell others, so he was also very tired. Even Xiao Hua himself had a blood feud. His responsibility was probably not lighter than Xiao Mao's. He still had Zhang Qingxiao and Xiao Xianrui to confide in, but Xiao Mao could only keep it in his heart. Xiao Hua could understand his bitterness. However, Li Zongbao cultivated the parting feelings treasure mirror, and was extremely sensitive to Xiao Mao's emotional fluctuations. Since he said there was a problem, then Xiao Mao really had some problems. Xiao Hua didn't want to see Xiao Mao walk down the wrong path, so he could only say so. Xiao Hua is right. The cultivation path is long and there are enemies, opponents, and also close friends. You have to treat them differently. Li Zongbao still said slowly. You don't have to mention names. Left and Right Sky Patrol City are all nascent soul cultivators. Even if you don't say it, I know it's nascent soul. Sigh. Thank you Senior Brother Li for your reminder. Xiao Mao sighed. The blood feud has always been a thorn in my heart. Back then, when I entered Xuanyan school, I treated this blood feud as the most important thing in my cultivation. It was also the motivation for my cultivation. But in the past, your little brother's aptitude was lacking, and I always failed. Every time I think about this matter, my heart feels like it's being twisted by a knife, and I secretly hate myself for not being able to avenge my mother. With hatred as your goal, you won't go far in your cultivation. You might not even be able to take revenge in the end. Li Zongbao said. Only by seeing the great Tao as your goal can you trample on hatred. Yes, Senior Brother Li is right. Fairy Xianxia whispered, as long as you put down your hatred and cultivate in peace, you will be able to reach the realm of revenge. Yes, Senior Sister, Senior Brother Li, I understand. Xiao Mao smiled bitterly. But if you really want me to do it, it really won't be easy for me. Xiao Mao, which cultivation family are you from? Li Zongbao frowned and said, I don't remember any aristocratic family with the surname Xiao in the state of Xi. It seems that the state of Lian only has the Xiao family of the Dark King Valley. But that Xiao family is very small and very far away from the state of Xi. I'm not a disciple of a cultivation family. Xiao Mao shook his head and said, Ever since I can remember, I've been living with my mother, in a place in the state of Xi. It was an extremely quiet valley. My mother and I think there was also my father. It was just the three of us. My father farmed in the fertile land of the valley while my mother repaired clothes and taught me how to read and read. As he said that, Xiao Mao's eyes were filled with warmth. He raised his eyes to look at the distant morning sun and whispered, This situation often appeared in my dreams in the past. But with the passage of time, this situation actually became blurry. Other than my mother's appearance, I still have some impression. As for my father's appearance, I can't even remember clearly. Xiao Hua and the rest didn't dare to disturb Xiao Mao's rare situation and silently flew by his side. I remember that my father, or my mother, had a good friend. But I've never seen him before. Every time he came, when I was about to fall asleep, I felt like I was in a dream, but also like I was in a straw hut. His voice was a little strange, different from ordinary people. Other than him, the place where I lived, there was no fifth person. I always thought that there were only 4 people in this world. Everything in the book was just in the book, not in this world. However, when I saw the 5th person, although it was a rainy autumn day, although I was still drowsy at that time, but his appearance, I remembered it clearly. And when he killed my father and mother, and when I saw blood red, my mother even whispered his name in my ear. Ah! Fairy Xianxia was slightly stunned and looked at Xiao Mao strangely. She asked in astonishment, Xiao Mao, how old were you at that time? Hee. Senior sister. Xiao Mao laughed, his eyes filled with desolation. I know what you want to say. There's something strange about this matter. I still don't understand, and haven't been able to figure it out. Indeed. Li Zongbao nodded. When you entered Xianxia cult, you were only 4 or 5 years old. You were only 3 years old in front of your father and mother. The memory of that time is already a little blurry. You can't even remember your father's appearance, and your mother who was closest to you is also getting increasingly blurry. Since your enemy could kill your father and mother, he can also kill you. How did you manage to live peacefully until now? In my memory, there are only a few scattered impressions. When my father and mother died, my eyes were all blood red, but that bastard's appearance was deeply imprinted in my mind. It seems like you bastard also attacked me, but I still remember that bastard was terrified and had a strange expression on his face. After that, I don't remember anything else. Then how did you enter Xianxia cult? Xiao Hua frowned and asked. When I woke up, I was already in the arms of a senior brother in Xianxia cult. Xiao Mao laughed bitterly. He brought me to Golden Goose Ridge, and I was lucky enough to pass the entrance test, which was how I entered Xianxia cult. However, this senior brother was already old. When I was 6 years old, he had already passed away. This senior brother. You didn't ask him how he met you? Fairy Xianxia frowned. After I entered Xianxia cult, it was this senior brother who took care of my daily life, so I naturally asked him. Xiao Mao's face showed his recollection. However, he only said that he saw me unconscious by the roadside, and that my foundation was extremely good. At that time, it was also the time when Xianxia cult was recruiting disciples, so he casually brought me into Xianxia cult. This person he didn't even ask if I was someone else's lost child. Fairy Xianxia didn't understand. Senior brother had good intentions. Xiao Mao shook his head. Senior brother said that when he saw me, it was in an extremely desolate place. There was no sign of human habitation at all. Where was that? I'm afraid it was very close to the valley where you lived? Xiao Hua asked. Senior brother said it before, but I was still young at that time, so I don't remember it clearly. Xiao Mao said regretfully. Xiao Hua heard and didn't pursue the matter further. This was Xiao Mao's privacy, and now that he had said so much, it was already good enough. If it was as you said, and your enemy was a nascent soul cultivator, then your parents are not ordinary people. Li Zongbao said lightly. Furthermore, that good friend of your parents must also be an extremely powerful expert. From what I saw, he must have rushed to the valley when that bastard attacked your parents. Although he didn't manage to save your parents, he still managed to save you. The fear he had then must have been the fear of seeing that person. That should be the case. Xiao Mao nodded. I was too young at that time, so I can't remember it clearly. I still have some doubts. Fairy Xianxia frowned. If it was as senior brotherly said, then Xiao Mao's parents should at least be golden core cultivators. Even if they hid from the world for reasons unknown to us, they should have used some methods to refine Xiao Mao's body after he was born. Otherwise, his cultivation wouldn't be so low. That's true. Li Zongbao muttered. Regardless of whether it was a cultivation family or a cultivation sect, they all emphasized on inheritance. Every family and sect had some secret techniques, which were used by the sect's disciples when they were young. These secret techniques could not only ensure that these disciples could cultivate extremely quickly, but also ensure that they could go further on the path of cultivation. As for Xiao Mao's parents, they only taught and knew how to read. That was really unique. Confucian cultivators. Xiao Hua suddenly froze and looked at Xiao Mao in shock, thinking, could it be that this Xiao Mao is the same as the Zhu family in Jianghu City? Or even a descendant of Confucian cultivators like Yu Zhongquan? After their parents went into hiding, they were discovered by someone and were then killed? But looking at Fairy Xianxia and Li Zongbao, Xiao Hua wasn't afraid that they would know about Confucian cultivators. But he still said carefully, maybe Xiao Mao's parents didn't want Xiao Mao to cultivate and only wanted him to live a peaceful life? I don't agree with that. Fairy Xianxia immediately objected. Which family's parents don't want their boy to live a long life? If he cultivated, he could even live a long life. How could he only know how to read and read? Actually, it wasn't just the ordinary kind of reading and reading. Xiao Mao said hesitantly, my mother also taught me some words from my hometown. Oh? Your family isn't from Xi? Fairy Xianxia was stunned. Of course not. Hearing Xiao Mao's words, Xiao Hua was even more certain that Xiao Mao's parents were Confucian cultivators. The inscription on the armor was completely different from the words used by cultivators. If they were from Xi, they would have gone to Meng or Lian or even Huan to avoid their enemies. Chapter 2755. That's not necessarily true. The most dangerous place is also the safest place. Fairy Xianxia insisted. Xiao Hua shrugged, knowing that he could not reason with the female cultivator, so he did not say anything more. Sigh, time is really a spiritual pill that makes people forget. After saying so much, Xiao Mao felt a little better. He took out a warm jade pendant from around his neck and rubbed it lovingly. I remember that this jade pendant was worn on my mother's neck. I liked to touch it when I was young. However, before I went to Jianghu City to train, I had never seen it. I thought that it had disappeared and I would never see it again. I did not expect to see it at Jianghu City's e.g. Of course, if not for this jade pendant, I would not have known you. Xiao Mao looked at Xiao Hua. What kind of story is this? Fairy Xianxia raised her eyebrows and smiled. I have never asked, how did my dear Xiao get to know junior brother Xiao? It's actually very simple. However, it was all caused by a scam. Xiao Hua did not hide anything, and gave a brief account of what had happened in Jianghu City. Fairy Xia's eyes lit up as she listened, and she reached out to hold Xiao Hua's hand. Although she did not say anything, the feelings in her heart were unmistakable. Sigh, no wonder Wuxia likes you so much. Li Zongbao sighed. I was also with her in Jianghu City that day. If I had encountered such a thing, I'm afraid I would not have done anything. If it was senior brother Li, you would have already beaten that cultivator to a pulp. Xiao Mao laughed. Impossible. Li Zongbao said mercilessly. You are a disciple of Xuanyan school, and Zhuoqing Yuan was also beside you that day. If he did not care, I naturally would not care either. That's why I am Xiao Mao's big brother, you are not. Xiao Hua said proudly. What about that scoundrel cultivator? Li Zongbao ignored Xiao Hua and said indifferently, since he has your mother's jade pendant, he must know something. You have not gone to find that guy? I'm just a foundation establishment disciple, and I was only at Chia Refinement before. How could I go to Jianghu City freely? Xiao Mao smiled bitterly. Furthermore, I've failed the trial in Jianghu City. The sect will not allow me to go there again. Forget it. The past is the past. What's important is the future. Fairy Xianxia comforted. If you were to live in the past, your mother and father would not be willing. Thank you, senior sister. Xiao Mao's mood had indeed improved as he bowed and said. You're welcome, you're welcome. We'll be a family in the future. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Tis. Fairy Xianxia smiled faintly and spat lightly. Xiao Mao looked around and revealed a smile. He looked into the distance and said, Senior sister, we have already passed the battlefield of the Sword Mound. Is this the right direction? When Fairy Xianxia heard this, she stopped blushing. She clapped her hands and took out an ancient jade pendant. She looked at it with her divine thought for a moment and said hesitantly, What is recorded in this jade slip is the previous route of the Sword Tomb. Now that the Sword Tomb has disappeared, I can't make up my mind. Let's go. Anyway, there are no longer any magic arrays or sword arrays in the Sword Catacomb. There are only a few spatial cracks. We just need to be careful and we should be fine. Seeing Fairy Xianxia looking at him, Xiao Hua hurriedly shrunk his neck and suggested. Yes, junior brother Xiao is right. The Sword Tomb has disappeared, so the obstacle in the path of swordsmanship is also gone. The secret passage in the Sword Tomb is naturally useless. However, it is the Sword Tomb that has disappeared. The Han country still exists. We just need to pass through the Sword Tomb and reach the Han country first. Li Zongbao said calmly as he led the way. Although he said that, Everyone felt that passing through the sword tomb was not a difficult task. However, after flying for another hour, Xiao Hua's expression changed. He whispered, "Senior Brother Li, there are sword cultivator patrolling disciples ahead. Should we fight or hide?" "Hide, of course," Li Zongbao said without hesitation. "This is the sword cultivator's territory. Our goal is to pass through the Han country, not to fight to the death with them." "Yes, little brother understands. It's better for little brother to lead the way," Xiao Hua said as his figure flew up and flew towards the sky. Fairy Xianxia and the rest looked helpless. It seemed that the disappearance of the sword tomb was not a good thing. Instead, it made it difficult for them to pass through. If the sword tomb had been there before, with the jade slip passed down by Fairy Xia's ancestors and the secret passage, even if they met sword cultivators within a few miles, they would not be discovered. Now, with a sweep of the sword cultivator's spiritual force, Xiao Hua and the rest not only had to avoid the spatial cracks, they also had to avoid the sword cultivator's spiritual force patrol. The most helpless thing was that because of the disappearance of the sword tomb, the sword cultivators, who had never set up defenses in the sword tomb, had now sent out many disciples to guard the passage to the sword tomb, preventing the Dao sect cultivators from killing their way into the Han country. After flying for half a day, their direction was messed up. Xiao Hua was like a headless fly flying around. Fortunately, there was still Li Zongbao and the rest. Although they had been taking a roundabout route, they were still advancing towards the Han country. "Sayu, didn't the Kai family move from the Million Meng Mountains to the Shi country long ago? This sword tomb might not have existed at that time. Your Kai family's ancestral jade slip should have the route from a long time ago." Xiao Hua looked at Fairy Hongxia's expression and muttered softly. "Humph, my Kai family naturally has the route from the past. But that was in the Qingyang Kai family. The route in the jade slip was obtained by master with great difficulty. How could it be so well prepared?" Fairy Hongxia's face turned cold as she said, "Besides, who would have known that the boring Nameless would actually sweep the sword tomb clean? If you want to blame someone, blame that Nameless." "Hee, that's right. This Uncle Nameless is really boring." Xiao Hua laughed. "Why didn't he think of such a thing?" "Bah!" Fairy Hongxia spat lightly. Just as she was about to retort, suddenly 3 soaring sword intents swept across the sky from afar, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Especially Xiao Hua, the sword energy in his body was somewhat out of control. The Dream Executioner and Mountain Splitter were rapidly vibrating, wanting to let out a sword cry. Xiao Hua was shocked. He knew that the sword intents in the distance were 3 swordsmen who had transformed into swords. He hurriedly used the secret technique of concealing the sword energy and tried his best to calm the 2 flying swords. Luckily, Li Zongbao and the rest were attracted by the sword intents and did not notice the changes in Xiao Hua's sword energy. "Damn it, this sword cultivator's sword energy is too sensitive." Xiao Hua was very helpless. Why is it that every time I encounter sword intents, the sword energy would be attracted by them? If I could control the sword energy like true energy and send it into the Dantian, wouldn't it be much safer? Why not? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua's heart suddenly flashed with an unimaginable thought. This sword energy is flowing in the body and it seems to be near the middle Dantian. If I could store the sword energy in the middle Dantian, wouldn't it not be so complicated? The middle Dantian. It's a pity that this young master's middle Dantian is sealed. It's impossible to even try. No. Xiao Hua thought again. In this young master's impression, the middle Dantian has a qi refining cultivation method. But which cultivation method is it? Yes, there are some records on the inscriptions on the tortoise shell. It's a pity that the cultivation method of that Confucian cultivator has been incomplete for a long time. Although this young master has looked at it for a long time, I only know the outline. The cultivation method that Yu Zhongquan left for Huang Yi can be cultivated and even has a shortcut. But without the middle Dantian, everything is useless. While Xiao Hua's imagination was running wild, the 3 sword intents that had transformed into swords had already streaked across the sky above Xiao Hua and the rest's heads. Xiao Hua and the rest did not dare to delay. They hurriedly stopped in midair and quietly waited for the 3 swordsmen to pass. Moreover, the 4 of them were extremely nervous. After all, the swordsmen had already joined the battle. Moreover, the 4 of them had entered the Han country through the sword tomb. They did not know how many of these swordsmen would meddle in other people's business. It seems that there are not only 3 swordsmen. Xiao Hua's gaze swept across and saw that among the 3 swordsmen, there were 2 rays of light, one gold and one green. He could not help but be stunned. Moreover, the 2 rays of light were flying in the middle and the 3 swordsmen surrounded them. It was as if they were protecting them. The 3 divine intents closely followed the sword intents and swept across. Upon discovering them, Xiao Hua and the rest were slightly stunned and firmly locked onto the 4 of them. This is bad. Xiao Hua secretly complained in his heart. If he was here alone, he might have a way to escape. But Li Zongbao and the rest might not have a chance. Fairy Xianxia and the rest's expressions changed as well. Their faces were even a little pale. Although the 3 divine intents locked onto the 4 of them, when the 5 rays of light flew over their heads, one of the swordsmen landed beside Xiao Hua and the rest. When the ray of light retracted, they saw a well-built sword-transformed elder within the ray of light. Who are you? Why did you barge into my sword domain? The sword-transformed elder berated. Don't you know that we swordsmen can also attack now? If I wanted to take your lives, it would be as easy as flipping my hand. Senior is right. We Foundation establishment disciples are far from being a match for a sword-transformed cultivator like you. Li Zongbao said indifferently, but the battle between the Dao and the Sword Dao is currently resting and has not officially begun. Moreover, we have already escaped from the great battle of Dao and Sword. We are just traveling around. Could it be that you, sword-transformed elder, want to take the lives of the Dao sect cultivators, regardless of whether they are Qi refinement or golden core cultivators? Hee, what a sharp-tongued child. The sword-transformed elder's face turned green, as if a faint green color was seeping out from under his skin. His eyes revealed a kind of astonishment. However, the sword-transformed elder's sword intents revolved around his body and even seemed to flow like a substance, enveloping Li Zongbao and the rest. In the end, he did not take any further action. Chapter 2756. You are a disciple of the Changbai sect? The sword-wielding old man shifted his gaze away from Li Zongbao's indifferent and unperturbed face, passing by Fairy Xianxia and Xiao Mao to land on Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua rolled his eyes. Just as he was about to reply, he suddenly realized something and hurriedly bowed. Senior, please know that I am a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect, not the Changbai sect. Since you are not a disciple of the Changbai sect, why do you have a faint sword intent on you? Have you also practiced with flying swords? The old man's expression didn't change at all as he asked this question in an indifferent tone. Yes, I was an itinerant cultivator in the beginning. I once obtained an incomplete sword technique. Xiao Hua began to spout nonsense again. What I did not understand was the sword technique. I thought it was my Dao sect's flying sword, so I happily practiced it. That's right, Senior, I have a question. This sword essence. Seeing Xiao Hua's thirst for knowledge, the old man's face revealed an expression of not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to finish, he waved his hand and said, "Shut up. Do you think I am a teacher of your Imperial Thunder sect? Even if I am a teacher of your Thunder Palace, if I am not your helpless teacher in the 10,000 Thunder Valley, who would answer your question?" Senior knows. Xiao Hua's face was filled with disbelief, almost as if he was shocked. Yes. Do you think I am one of those golden core cultivators in your Dao sect's discussion hall who are not even comparable to Jurassic beasts? The old man who transformed into a sword said coldly, "The 3 people who assassinated Qin Jian and the Huanhua sect disciple who broke the 4-direction sword formation are all in front of me. If I still don't recognize them, wouldn't I be blind?" Xiao Hua's face paled as he looked at the old man with some fear, as if he was afraid he would attack at any time. Humph, you have all contributed to the Dao sword war. I really congratulate you. You have actually obtained the approval of your teacher to travel to the sword catacomb. I just don't know. Where are you going? The old man ignored their wariness and snorted coldly. This. Xiao Hua looked at Fairy Xianxia and company before turning his head and smiling apologetically. I'm not afraid that Senior will laugh at me for saying this. But in his heart, he admired the sword cultivator's unbending and persevering sword intent. As the saying goes, a place nurtures its own people. Junior thought, what kind of place is this Hung country? How could such a valiant swordsman be born? Therefore, he invited a few fellow Taoists to travel to Hung country. Yes, back then, Zhang Yutong and Zhang Yuha also traveled to Meng Kingdom. This junior also saw them at the Tai Ching Sect's Feather Immortal Assembly. If it were any other day, you would have come to my sword domain. Perhaps the warriors of my sword domain would have welcomed you with great hospitality. But this is a time of war. Although this old man will not take action, the warriors of my sword region will not show mercy. The sword transformation swordsman said faintly. Moreover, if Zhang Yutong and Zhang Yuha had not met with danger in your Meng Kingdom and had not returned to the Huan Sword Sect, how could this Dao sword war have been ignited? Hee. I hope you will not fall in sword domain like Zhang Yutong and Zhang Yuha. Didn't Zhang Yutong return to the Huan Sword Sect long ago? Xiao Hua muttered in his heart, but naturally, he would not say it out loud. Only, he laughed and bowed. If Xianxia has the heart, you can bestow a sword token as a guide for this junior. Scram. The sword transformation swordsman did not know whether to laugh or cry. He really did not want to say anything more to Xiao Hua and the others. With a wave of his hand, a complete sword chi mixed with sword hair rushed towards Xiao Hua and the others. The four of them were shocked and hurriedly tried to dodge. However, in front of the sword chi, a feeling of a complete golden needle pouncing on their faces immediately restrained the four of them. The sword chi then stabbed in front of them. Li Zongbao and the others were shocked and naturally tried their best to break free. However, the invisible sword chi had already imprisoned their true essence and they were unable to use even a trace of their magic power. They simply wanted to, but they were powerless. However, Xiao Hua was different. At this time, there was no true essence in his meridians. Although his meridians were imprisoned, he could still use the dragon transformation art. Even the golden core in his dantian could also use true essence. However, facing the sword transformation swordsman who had been wasting time with him for a long time, Xiao Hua was confident that he would not really make a move. Therefore, on the surface, he struggled like Li Zongbao and the others, but in reality, he did not use even a trace of true essence. Of course, Xiao Hua's hand was already slightly clenched. As long as his guess was slightly wrong, he would immediately use the soul-slaying Yuan light. At the same time, the spiritual fire was also urged into his mouth. Seeing the thousands of sword hair rushing in front of the four of them, those sword hair once again emitted a dazzling brilliance. These brilliances intertwined with each other and unexpectedly formed a sword net, instantly trapping the four of them. This sword net did not stop. Instead, it brought along the imprisoned figures of the four people and rushed towards the ground at an extremely fast speed. Huff, 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 huff. For muffled sounds rang out and the four people fell on the foot of the mountain, their bodies in a sorry state. Humph! The sword transformation swordsman coldly snorted again. He did not even look at the four people. Sword light flashed under his feet and he directly chased after the four slowly moving lights in the distance. Naturally, it was only the time for half an incense stick to burn when the sword light around Li Zongbao and the others slowly disappeared. The four of them once again flew up from the foot of the mountain. They looked at the sword transformation swordsman who had already disappeared with some shame and anger. They looked at each other and did not dare to say another word. They once again flew towards the direction of the Huan country. However, at this moment, a flying sword message streaked across the sky like a meteor. It quickly surpassed them and flew into the distance. This flying sword message seems to be flying from the direction of that old fart just now. Xiao Hua had already seen it and said with some surprise, "What did they come to the sword tomb for? And why did they send a flying sword message?" Sigh. Sword transformation swordsman. I have finally seen the strength of a sword transformation swordsman. Li Zongbao did not pay attention to Xiao Hua's words. His eyes flashed with a strange light as he sighed and said, "Of course, they are comparable to a nascent soul master." Xiao Mao also said, "We are only foundation establishment cultivators. How can we compare?" "TSK. It's only a..." Xiao Hua shook his head and said with disdain. Fairy Xianxia and the other two naturally knew that Xiao Hua had the capital to be so arrogant. They could not compare with him. They all curled their lips and somewhat despised him for speaking without thinking. "That's right, big brother." Xiao Mao thought for a moment and asked again. Just now there were 5 swordsmen. Among them, the 2 in the middle did not seem to be sword cultivators. That brilliance was not sword light. Yes, the other 2 brilliances were not sword light. Xiao Hua nodded. He had seen it clearly. It was a brilliance similar to the protective golden light. I'm afraid that those two swordsmen used it to protect themselves? That's a little strange, Fairy Xianxia muttered. Looking at the three swordsmen, they seemed to be very respectful towards those two swordsmen. They even surrounded them. Who are those two swordsmen? Who cares who they are? Xiaohua said coldly, left and right, they are all people that we cannot afford to offend. They are all opponents of nascent soul masters. We are only training in Huan country. Let's go. Li Zongbao was a little disinterested. He waved his hand and said, that flying sword message just now might have been a message sent by the sword transformation senior to Huan country to inform them of our whereabouts. We still have to hurry and rush out of the sword tomb while those sword cultivators are not guarding it. That old fart, Xiaohua said coldly. He is also somewhat sanctimonious. Li Zongbao was right. That flying sword message was indeed sent by a sword transformation swordsman. It was not sent by that green-faced old man. As the sword transformation elder caught up with the four brilliances, a red-faced sword transformation elder asked curiously, Jianghu, could it be that you are old friends with those four Dao sect kids? Why did you talk for so long? The sword transformation elder called Jianghu chuckled and said, actually, I shouldn't have stayed behind to ask. On the contrary, sword transformation elder, you should have gone down to take a look. Cheng Minghua, what do you mean? This old man is only asking you what you said to those reckless kids who barged into the sword tomb. How can you talk to this old man like that? Could it be that your clear sword sect has some shady business with the Dao sect? The sword transformation elder with the surname Chong seemed to have a bad temper. My clear sword sect is not as famous as your Void Heaven Sword School. We don't have any relationship with those Dao sect kids. Cheng Minghua was the sect master of the clear sword sect, so he naturally wouldn't back down. He sneered and said, this old man only wants to tell you that among those four Dao sect kids, 3 of them are the Foundation Establishment disciples who killed your Void Heaven Sword School's Qin Jian. It's actually them. This old man was looking for that terrifying phoenix, but he actually threw himself into my hands. The sword transformation elder with the surname Chong was the sect master of the Void Heaven Sword School. His name was Chong Taishu, and he had long hated Xiaohua for killing Qin Jian. When he heard that Xiaohua had come, he actually stopped. Sword transformation elder is mighty, Cheng Minghua said with a smile. Looking at your posture, you're going to kill Xiaohua? What? I can't? This is a war. What's there to be afraid of if I kill 1 or 2 Foundation Establishment disciples? I'm not afraid of losing face. Chong Taishu coldly said. You're not afraid of losing face, but this old man is, Cheng Minghua said with disdain. This old man has never heard of a sword transformation swordsman attacking a Foundation Establishment cultivator, even during a war. He has a grudge with this old man, so this old man can naturally attack him. Chong Taishu was somewhat unwilling. A sword transformation swordsman of my sword domain shouldn't attack a Foundation Establishment disciple. Another sword transformation swordsman persuaded, your Void Heaven Sword School does have a grudge with Xiaohua, but that's between a sword transformation swordsman and a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Even if Xiaohua was a golden core cultivator, you still wouldn't have the right to attack him. If you attack him, my sword domain transformation swordsman will lose all face. This sword transformation swordsman was an old woman with white hair. Although her voice was sharp, her tone was firm, which made Chong Taishu hesitate. Beautiful butterfly, no one from your Black Phoenix Sword School has died in his hands, so naturally, you can speak without feeling any pain. Chapter 2757. As the sect leader of the Black Phoenix Sword Sect, even if Lu Ruochang was killed by Xiaohua, I will not seek revenge from Xiaohua, unless it is Wu Ming who has stepped into the nascent soul stage. You. Chong Taishu was a little angry. But at this moment, the swordsman in the middle of the 3 said in a low voice, 3 sword friends. 100 miles ahead. Is it the place where the sword array is set up? That's right. When the 3 heard this, they answered almost in unison. Their eyes were filled with joy. Looking at the swordsman who spoke, his body was flashing with golden light, covering his entire body. It was impossible to see his true appearance. Beside this swordsman, there was another swordsman who was flashing with a faint green light. This green light was different from the golden light. The golden light was like the glaring sun, so bright that others could not see the swordsman's figure and appearance. But this green light was like a layer of cloud, covering the swordsman's body. However, whether it was the golden light or the green light, the two people's figures were covered. It was impossible to tell whether they were male or female, let alone their appearance. After hearing the three people's answers, the golden figure did not answer, but turned to the green figure. However, the green swordsman did not answer either. His figure flew up again and flew into the distance at an extremely fast speed, much faster than before. Sage. Although Chong Taishu's temper was very irritable, his voice was much gentler at this moment. He said with a smile, "This? The thing that destroyed the sword tomb. What is it? Fairy she. Did she find anything?" Fairy did not say anything for the time being. The golden figure called Sage said faintly, "However, since she found some clues, she must have found something. Let her take a look again. In my opinion, she has lived for so long, so she is definitely experienced and knowledgeable. She will definitely find the source of the sword tomb's disappearance." Actually, it doesn't matter whether the source is found or not. Chang Minghua also said in a low voice, "The key is whether it will affect my Sword Realm's plan." Sage has lived in seclusion in Alchemy Valley for thousands of years, although he has never appeared in Sword Realm. But he is also a member of Sword Realm. You can't just ignore this matter. Haha, Cheng Jianyu, don't worry. Since this old man has been persuaded by you, now it was the key to the sword domain. How can this old man not do anything? That Taoist master said with a smile. Otherwise, this old man wouldn't have spent so much effort to ask Fairy to step in. With her around, what are you afraid of? This. We understand. Blue Butterfly nodded and said, "Although the cause of the disappearance of the sword tomb is not as important as what Chang Jianyu said, if we can find it, we will still have to trouble you. After all, the sudden disappearance of this enormous barrier is a huge problem for my sword domain." Shoo. Let's go. The fairy has sent us a message. She wants us to go over. The Taoist master seemed to have a special way of communicating with the fairy. Even the three sword transformation swordsmen were unable to detect it. Hearing the Taoist master's words, the three of them hurriedly increased their speed and flew into the distance. The Saiyan figure stood quietly where the Buddhist golden array had been. Strange waves of energy were emitted from the fairy's body and spread into the distance like waves. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, the waves slowly converged into the fairy's body. Then the fairy's figure turned into the Taoist master's figure. Chong Taishu, Cheng Minghua, and Blue Butterfly looked at each other with joy on their faces. After a while the golden figure coughed twice and said, "Fairy has found some clues, but we can't be sure. After all, it has been a long time since the disappearance of the sword tomb. There are many swordsmen and cultivators nearby. Even the nascent soul cultivators of the Tao sect use their secret techniques here. It doesn't matter, as long as there are some clues." Chang Minghua waved his hand and said, "As long as we can determine whether the disappearance of the sword tomb is related to that nameless from the thunder-controlling sect, it will be enough to affect our plan. There is a thin blood aura here. There may have been a large-scale blood sacrifice." The Taoist master replied, "However, this blood sacrifice should not be the cause of the disappearance of the sword tomb. Of course, we can't rule out the connection between the blood sacrifice and the disappearance of the sword tomb. In addition, the disappearance of the sword tomb should have nothing to do with the cultivators of the Tao sect. They can't have such great magic power." "Well, that's good." Chong Taishu glanced at the green figure and nodded. "Now that we know this, we have a plan in our hearts. In the future, we will act according to the previous plan. Of course, if Fairy can tell us the reason for the disappearance of the sword tomb, that would be even better." Blue Butterfly understood Chong Taishu's meaning and whispered. "Fairy didn't say. Let me ask her." Taoist master Yu hesitated and said. After half a cup of tea's worth of time, the Taoist cultivator said, "The fairy is a bit afraid. She suspects that the thing that caused the sword tomb to disappear is an ancient ferocious item. The appearance of this item here is a bit beyond her expectations. She is afraid that if she says it, it will reveal the secrets of heaven." "Ah? Reveal the secret of heaven?" The three swordsmen were dumbfounded. They did not expect that this object would be related to the secret of heaven. Of course, since it was related to the secret of heaven, it must have had little to do with Nameless from the thunder-controlling sect. What is this object? Can we learn something from it? Blue Butterfly still asked in a low voice, as if she did not believe that by saying the object's name, she would reveal the secret of heaven. Alas, this will make things difficult for Fairy. The Taoist master sighed. Let's ask Fairy. If she doesn't want to, then don't say it. Chong Taishu was also curious. Sure enough, after a while, the Taoist master whispered, Fairy has already told me. This object is really amazing. What is it? Chong Taishu, Blue Butterfly, and Cheng Minghua asked in unison. Actually, even if I tell you, you may not know it. The Taoist master seemed to be keeping them in suspense. That's why we want to learn something. Chong Taishu blurted out, Please enlighten us. Alas, this object is the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. The Taoist master finally said the name of the object. 10. Extinguishing. Heaven. Dipper? Chong Taishu and the other two were stunned. They had never heard of this object before. This is the name of an ancient spiritual artifact. The Taoist master said lightly. Of course, Fairy only has a feeling and is not completely sure. That's why she is afraid of revealing the secret of heaven. As for what this object is and how powerful it is, I'm afraid that the current Taoist sect cultivators do not know. Don't ask too much. Okay, we understand. Thank you, Fairy and Taoist master. When Blue Butterfly heard that they could not be sure that it was the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, and that even the Taoist sect cultivators did not know about it, her heart calmed down. She bowed and said, Let us send Fairy and Taoist master to Lien country to see the results of our sword domain's battle. Very good. The Taoist master was hidden behind the golden light, so they could not see whether he nodded or not. Please. Cheng Minghua and the rest said as they escorted the Taoist master and Fairy into the air. Their direction was different from Xiao Hua and the rest. However, just as they were flying, Chong Taishu said coldly, Since the sword tomb is fine, we can be at ease. However, how can these Taoist sect cultivators travel freely in our sword domain? If our sword domain did not respond, it would seem that our swordsmen are too lazy. With that, Chong Taishu flicked his hand and a flying sword message rushed into the air, heading straight for Huan country. Swordsman Chong is a little bored. Seeing this, Blue Butterfly and Cheng Minghua smiled at each other and said softly. Obviously, they knew the reason for the disappearance of the sword tomb. Although they were not completely sure, they were relieved. Although Li Zongbao and the rest did not know that the flying sword message was as they guessed, it was in order to prevent them from entering Huan country. They had already made preparations in advance. However, the deeper they flew into the sword tomb, the closer they got to Huan country, the more sword cultivators on patrol there. It was almost impossible for Li Zongbao and the rest to hide their tracks and pass through the gaps between the sword cultivators. Many times, Xiao Hua and the rest had to face the patrolling swordsmen and the swordsmen from various sword sects. Fortunately, most of the patrolling swordsmen in the sword tomb were at the sword conception realm. A small number of them were at the sword conception realm and below, and only a few were at the sword conception realm or below. As for the swordsmen at the illusory sword realm, they were basically patrolling swordsmen who sent out flying sword messages. The nearby illusory swordsmen would be attracted by the flying sword messages. Of course, these swordsmen weren't a match for Li Zongbao and the others by themselves, let alone Xiao Hua. Under the deliberate escape of Li Zongbao and the others, the defense of the sword tomb was forcefully torn open by the four of them, and they charged out. Buzz! A loud buzzing sound resounded, and a yellow dragon flew out from the sword light of the swordsman. Above the dragon, there was a yellow brilliance like a full moon. It was so bright and dazzling that the hundreds of sword lights were overshadowed by this brilliance. Ha ha ha, you're just a bunch of mobs. You actually dare to show off in front of this young master. An arrogant laughter sounded at the same time after the loud sound of the seal of turning the sea. Xiao Hua's slender figure flew out of the crowd like a sharp sword behind the dragon. If you dare to stop me again, don't blame this young master for being ruthless. Xiao Hua stood firmly in the air and pointed his finger. The seal of ocean overturning seal, which had just knocked down several dozen flying swords, began to revolve above the heads of the group of sword cultivators. The cryptic undulations were like ocean waves as they spread into the distance. Under the seal of turning the sea, the hundreds of swordsmen and sword conception realm swordsmen were stunned. They were on patrol in the sword tomb and didn't know much about the situation of the battle. They seemed to have never heard of the name of the frightening phoenix. Now that they saw a middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivator so powerful, one person and one weapon facing hundreds of swordsmen without falling into a disadvantageous position, they were already terrified. Chapter 2758. If you dare to do anything else, I will not let my magical treasure go to waste. The one following behind Xianxia must be Fairy Xianxia. As she spoke, she released a strand of Xiantian primordial water from her body. Although the Xiantian primordial water was very thin, it was formed into a thin layer by Fairy Xianxia. It blocked the spiritual wills of the swordsmen, causing them to be shocked. Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao followed behind Fairy Xianxia calmly. They did not take out any magical treasures. This kind of leisurely flight was even more unfathomable to the swordsmen. They were even more fearful than Xiaohua and Fairy Xianxia. After all, Li Zongbao's cultivation seemed to be at the late stage of Foundation establishment, while the ferocious Xiaohua was only at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. For a moment, all the swordsmen hesitated. Damn it! Whoever wants to die, come and find me. Xiaohua pointed at the seal of the overturning sea. The entire seal of the overturning sea hummed. The coiling dragon roared and circled around the seal. In an instant, all the swordsmen retreated dozens of feet in fear. Ha ha ha! I will be leaving. Don't send me off. Xiaohua laughed loudly and arrogantly swaggered off. The ocean overturning seal slowly followed behind him with a long tail of light behind it. The group of drawing swords and nurturing swordsmen looked at each other and did not dare to chase after them. Big brother, you are really amazing. This magical treasure is really amazing. After flying for an incense's time, Xiao Mao could not help but look at the seal of the overturning sea in mid-air and say with envy. Indeed, just a moment ago, when Xiao Hua was besieged by a group of swordsmen, he activated the cloud-suppressing seal. First, he knocked down a dozen swordsmen from the air, and then he knocked down another dozen swordsmen. Among them, there were even several flying swords of inferior quality that were smashed to pieces, and the owners of those flying swords also suffered serious internal injuries. This was only the beginning. Following which, Xiao Hua's seal of the sea was like a huge dragon emerging from the sea. The immense sealing power of the seal and the boundless might of the coiling dragon disintegrated the formation of over 100 swordsmen. As for Xiao Mao and Li Zongbao, they did not even need to use their magic treasures. Under the threat of Fairy Xianxia, everyone rushed out unscathed. Ha ha, this is nothing. Xiao Hua laughed loudly. He turned to look at the sword cultivator who was eager to give it a try and shouted, "You haven't seen Big Brother's awe-inspiring time yet. If anyone dares to step forward, I'll kill them for you to see." As soon as he said that, many swordsmen who were eager to give it a try immediately shrunk their heads, not daring to make any more moves. Thus, Xiao Hua and the other three boldly flew towards the Huan country. Humph! After flying for a full 2 hours, the spatial cracks that appeared from time to time within the sword catacomb had completely disappeared. The patrolling sword cultivator disciples also did not appear. Xiao Hua knew that the sword catacomb had most likely passed. He snorted coldly and said, "That sword transformation old ghost was also bluffing. Just based on these sword cultivators and sword nurturing disciples, you think you can stop this young master?" Hee hee. Fairy Xianxia pursed her lips and laughed. She whispered, "That sword transformation old ghost naturally thought that you were that terrifying phoenix. But who would have thought that you are not only a phoenix, but a nameless one? In fact, a bald phoenix like you is even more powerful than the real terrifying phoenix." Seeing Xiao Hua and Fairy Xianxia whispering here, Li Zongbao had already moved to the side. Xiao Mao also said a few words and flew to Li Zongbao's side, accompanying him to look at the nearby scenery. Fairy Xianxia and Xiao Hua exchanged a few sweet words. Suddenly, she realized something and her face turned slightly red. She hurriedly clapped her hands and took out the jade amulet again. She immersed her spiritual will in it, as if she was checking it, but also as if she was avoiding embarrassment. Xiao Hua looked at Fairy Xia's bashful face. In this pure white ice, it was still so beautiful. In his heart, he really wanted to go up and hug her. He didn't need to do anything. He could only give her a light kiss on her tender skin. It was incomparably comfortable, incomparably satisfying. Unfortunately, Other than Xiao Hua and Fairy Xianxia, there was also Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao. Xiao Hua really regretted it. How could he bring these two along to Huan country? Immediately, after Fairy Xianxia identified the direction, the four of them flew up again, flying towards the northwest of Huan country. Xiao Hua and the other three broke through the defensive line of Huan country sword cultivators and entered deep into Huan country. If it was before the sword catacomb disappeared, no one would have known. But now, the four of them had passed through the sword catacomb. They had already broken through many patrolling disciples and shocked many swordsmen. It directly impacted the swordsmen's determination to fight to the death with cultivators. How could it not attract the swordsmen's attention? Just as Xiao Hua and the rest flew out of the sword catacomb, the news of them breaking into Huan country had already spread to many swordsmen. It had to be said that there was a lot of karma involved in this, and the root of it was none other than Xiao Hua. Of course, perhaps Xiao Hua did not care, or perhaps Li Zongbao did not think too much about it. In short, the four of them passed through Huan country unhurriedly under Fairy Xia's guidance. The strange scenery of Huan country caused the four of them to gasp in amazement. Huan country was in the extreme north. It was abnormally cold. Usually, there were no spiritual herbs or spiritual trees commonly seen in Shi country. Even green wood and red flower were luxurious here. Xiao Hua and the rest flew for several days. Other than snow and ice, there were only cliffs and perilous peaks. But the cliffs and perilous peaks reflected the pale light. Whether it was rock or soil, there was a layer of ice. It was as if the entire Huan country was a world of ice and snow. Of course, in this world of ice and snow, other than pure white, there were still other colors. But in the sky above their heads, a kind of azure color pounced on their heads. It was abnormally pure, as if the entire sky was a piece of transparent blue jade. Moreover, the sky seemed to be extremely high and extremely far. When one looked at it, an extremely mysterious feeling involuntarily arose in one's heart. There was even a kind of feeling, a kind of impulse, that made one want to fly up high and plunge into this boundless blue sky. Moreover, some clouds occasionally floated across the sky. They were extremely ethereal. Not only did they not block the blue sky, but they also showed a kind of vitality, making the clouds appear pure white. And this pure white contrasted with the blue and white where the sky and earth intersected, as if the white of the earth was projected in the sky. The unfamiliar scenery of Huan country brought Xiao Hua and the rest far more than that. As the four of them went deeper into Huan country, dozens of days later, the original alternating sun and moon also changed. The day became longer, and the sun on the horizon did not set for several days. Xiao Hua and the rest were all foundation establishment and golden core cultivators. Originally, they did not care much about the day and night, but after a long time, they also felt the strangeness of the sky. After Xiao Hua and the rest were amazed by this, when the night really came, an even more pleasant surprise was brought to them. In the dark night, the night stars were so bright, so clear and so bright. The night sky was not completely dark, but there was a hint of blue in the darkness. Moreover, the night was also extremely long, far longer than the day. After the four of them flew for a few more days at night, a strand of lemon green appeared in the distant night sky. It was unknown when this green appeared, but when Xiao Hua raised his eyes to look, it had already appeared in the dark blue part of the night sky. This green brilliance seemed to mix into a river and quickly spread towards the sky. As this lemon green became denser, it was as if a spiritual tree was born in the distance, rapidly growing towards the entire night sky. In fact, the lemon green swayed and twisted in the night sky, like the swaying of the wind, or the overflowing of the water. Just as Xiao Hua held Fairy Xia's hand and called Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao to look, the source of the lemon green suddenly flickered, and an almost azure luster quickly overflowed, directly chasing after the lemon green that had already spread across the distant horizon like ribbons. It's really beautiful. When had Fairy Xia seen such a magnificent scene? She had long been intoxicated. However, before she could finish her sentence, another dazzling blue quietly surged out after the deep green. It was like a surging river, surging past the green and green as it rapidly rushed into the horizon. It's here again. Fairy Xia clapped her hands happily, like a little girl who had seen a beautiful scene, happily shouting. Sure enough, after the blue, red, orange, yellow, purple and other colors surged out, and in between these colors, there were even other colors that were not. The brightness of these colors were different, and the range of their flickering was also different. However, they were all in the shape of ribbons, swaying in the night sky. This dazzling and colorful spectacle not only lit up the night sky, but also illuminated the dark white of the vast land. The rarest thing was that this spectacle also lit up everyone's eyes. Even Li Zongbao's eyes lit up as he stared at the sky. Although he did not say anything, the faintly curled corners of his mouth revealed his thoughts. However, no one knew what Li Zongbao was thinking at this moment. Perhaps he was praying for the millions of Meng Mountains? Or perhaps he was thinking of the warm time he had with Wuxia. After an hour, the beautiful brilliance finally dissipated, turning into a faint ribbon of light, blending into the dark blue of the night sky. Come out! When Li Zongbao and the rest were still looking at the night sky reluctantly, Xiaohua coldly shouted, "Who's there?" As soon as Xiaohua spoke, Li Zongbao immediately woke up. With a loud roar, he spread out his divine sense and looked around. Fairy Hongxia and Xiao Mao were a little slower, but when they heard him, they also spread out their divine sense. However, it was quiet all around, and there were no changes. The white snow in the night sky gave off a pale white color, and the continuous mountain ranges were like undulating waves. Occasionally, there were large areas of flat land covered by ice. In the middle of the solid snow field, there were some gray plants, but at this moment, they were barely visible in the night sky. "My dear Xiao." Fairy Hongxia looked around for a moment, then whispered with a surprised expression, "There doesn't seem to be anything strange around here." You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.